Konoha East Uchiha is very cautious. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Nightmare. The sky is full of stars and a bright moon is hanging high. The watery moonlight penetrates the thin clouds and sprinkles on the earth. A white jade belt flows quietly between the endless forests above the earth. It flows by a village built on the mountain. Three slightly old-fashioned and solemn portraits are looking at the village below the mountain, on both sides of a retro tank-style street paved with long stones in the village. A few scattered shops have not closed yet, and lights are shining through the doors and windows. Occasionally, a few vague shouts containing drunkenness can be heard. In a remote place far away from the street, behind the deep woods, there is an old-style elegant Japanese-style mansion surrounded by 3 rooms, surrounded by a fence with vines entwined outside. The two-slope roof, the hanging mountain structure, bathed in the moonlight, is elegant and peaceful. The breeze gently caressed, the wind chimes swayed, and the sound was light and ethereal. The gentle evening breeze drifted by, rippling with the sound of the wind chimes, intoxicating the night. The silvery moonlight flowed on the wooden corridor and shone into the bedroom through the window. On the small bed in the bedroom, a small figure was lying. The quilt that should have covered him was kicked aside. If you look closely, it is a very pretty and cute little face, with a little baby fat. From the constantly trembling eyelids and the kicked-off quilt, you can know that he is not sleeping well. Ah! A terrified roar came from the room. Almost at the same time, there were the sounds of footsteps and the sound of the door opening. Dong Shilang, are you okay? After hearing the voice, a girl of 16 or 17 years old walked into the room immediately. At this time, she was holding the little figure on the bed in her arms, one hand around her head and the other hand on her back, gently patting her, like coaxing a child. I'm fine, Sister Mika. Being held in the arms of someone like a child, even if this person is a very kind and beautiful girl, but as a man who is already over 30 years old mentally, there is still an inexplicable shyness. Ignoring the struggle of the child in her arms, the girl rested her chin on the child's forehead. With one hand, she tightened the restless body in her arms and hugged him tighter, while with the other hand, she continued to pat the child's back, as if this could relieve the fear and panic of the child in her arms. Are you having a nightmare again? After struggling several times in vain, the child gave up helplessly. Smelling the body fragrance wafting from the girl, mixed with shower gel and the unique body fragrance of this age, the child named Winter Lion was now slowly calming down from the nervous mood caused by the dream just now. Seeing the child in her arms calm down, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time, she felt a sense of pity. The child in her arms was the fruit of the eldest sister and elite of the clan. She should have grown up healthily under the care of her parents. But 4 years ago, when her sister had been pregnant for less than half a year, her brother-in-law died in a mission. After giving birth to the child, her sister fell seriously ill and was even more depressed. Finally, she passed away when the child was just 4 years old. Many elders in the clan sighed and lamented that this might be the fate of ninjas. I'm really fine, Sister Mika. I don't even remember the dream I just had. Seeing that the child didn't seem to be lying, the girl put the child back on the bed and helped cover the quilt again. And she showed a gentle smile to the child. Then, Tawashiro, do you need your sister to accompany you to sleep? If your sister is here, I believe Tawashiro will never have nightmares again. No need, Sister Mika. I'm really fine. I can't remember the dream I just had. Hearing such an answer, and looking at the child's dark eyes, the girl turned around and slowly left the room with relief. As the girl turned around, the family crest on the back of her coat was revealed to the child. It's Uchiha. He sighed softly in his heart. With the sound of the door closing, the bedroom fell into silence, and the child's thoughts gradually drifted away. As a modern man over 30, he had gone through a lot of hardships to cross the single-plank bridge. In his early 20s, he left the ivory tower and ventured into society. His experience can be said to be quite good. He had just entered the golden years of his life and was about to make great plans, but he inadvertently came to this strange and familiar world. Naruto. The anime that runs through his youth still left a deep impression on him. But what's the matter with the name Toshiro? Shouldn't he be a character in the Bleach next door? How did he come to Naruto? The most important thing is the dangerous surname Uchiha. Thinking about the dream just now, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. How could he forget? He was very impressed by that figure, and he was just comforting him. A white figure in the sky, facing the full moon, made seals with both hands. The corners of his mouth drew an exaggerated arc, as if he was laughing happily for fulfilling his dream of many years, and as if he felt compassion for cutting off all the causes and conditions in the world. Light up the world. Infinite moon reading. That's right, the nightmare he just had was the scene of Madara performing infinite moon reading during the 4th Shinobi World War. Yesterday, I dreamed of an orange-haired guy floating above the village, muttering, "How many floors do you have to carry a bag of rice?" A bag of rice has to be carried to the 2nd floor. And the day before yesterday, I dreamed of a small man wearing an Enbu uniform and carrying a katana, squatting on the electric pole at the intersection in front of his house. Oh, this life is unbearable. He sighed silently again, and the 4-year-old child named Uchiha Toshiro didn't know what to do for a moment. I just hope that with the integration of memories, these dreams that pop up from time to time will slowly disappear. This wave of time travel seems to be a bit wrong. When other people travel through time, they either have a golden finger, a grandfather with them, or all kinds of systems. Why is there nothing here? I'm afraid I traveled through time to a fake time, or I traveled to the wrong set. It would be fine if he is not the holder of the strongest ice type Zanpakuto in Bleach. How did I get to Naruto in the setting of Uchiha where almost all the members died before the start? Hey, since I'm here, I'll make the best of it. I can only take it one step at a time. As my thoughts continued to diverge, it didn't take long before I slowly fell into a dream. I just hope I don't have that kind of nightmare again. Chapter 2 Property. The next morning, the rising sun pierced the morning light and awakened the sleeping village. The gradually bustling streets seemed to show the prosperity of the day. In the central area of the village, within the exclusive Uchiha family residence, in the home of the time traveler Uchiha Toshiro. "Good morning, Auntie." The early awakened child pushed open the bedroom door with one hand and rubbed his sleepy eyes with the other. While greeting the girl who was busy in the kitchen, he did not forget to yawn. "Auntie, how many times have I told you to call me once Ansama?" She was very concerned about being called auntie as a young girl. She felt like she was already or was about to get married and have children. What's more, as the youngest sister in the family, she had always hoped to have a younger brother or sister. This way, she could also try the feeling of being an older sister. Without paying attention to her aunt's words, Toshiro went straight to the bathroom. He turned on the water, brushed his teeth, rinsed his mouth, washed his face, and then patted his cheeks in front of the mirror. It seemed as if he wanted to reacquaint himself with the child in the mirror, who had a pair of dark eyes, a delicate face, a little baby fat, and a hedgehog hair inherited from the Uchiha family. Well, he should be a handsome boy in the future. After encouraging himself, he came to the dining table in the living room. At this time, a girl with long hair, delicate features, and wearing a traditional Uchiha navy blue high-collared jacket was walking towards the dining table. The younger sister of the mother of the body Uchiha Mika. After the mother of the original body passed away a week ago, she has been responsible for taking care of Uchiha Toshiro. 3 days ago, the original owner fell into a coma due to not eating for a long time and excessive grief, and he felt very guilty after crossing over. In the past few days, he has lived in the original owner's house and assumed the responsibility of taking care of the original owner. In fact, this is also the tradition of the Uchiha family. Whenever a child in the family becomes an orphan, the family will first arrange someone from the blood relatives to take care of his daily life. Teach him some common sense knowledge. If there are no close blood relatives, they will be arranged to live with the widowed elderly in the clan. After the two sat down, looking at the steamed rice, miso soup, grilled fish, natto and pickles on the table, they couldn't help but feel hungry. "I'm starting." The two, one big and one small, picked up their chopsticks and started eating almost at the same time. As time passed, except for the occasional collision of chopsticks and dishes, and the chewing and swallowing of food in the mouth. There was almost no other sound in the living room. In the original body's memory, his mother may have had a premonition that her time was running out, and some of the rules and etiquette unique to the big family, as well as texts, were taught to him in advance. Don't talk while eating. Don't talk while sleeping. This can be regarded as the most basic requirement. Fortunately, there are these advanced teachings. Otherwise, not only will there be no plugins after traveling through time, but you will also have to learn the language again, and it would be painful to think about recognizing words. I'm done. Sister Meixiang, I'm going to the study. Okay, I'll clean these up later. Seeing that he had a good appetite today and ate a lot, the girl was greatly relieved. Across the living room, next to the master bedroom, is the study of this house. The furnishings in the room are quite simple. In addition to a large bookcase placed against the wall, there is only a relatively large square low table in the middle of the room. There is also a futon, making the whole room look spacious and bright. I came to the desk and looked up at the scrolls on the bookshelf, the old-fashioned thread-bound notebooks, and the new printed books mixed in them. The confusion and uneasiness in my heart because of suddenly coming to a strange world are slowly fading away. I put dozens of scrolls on the low table and browsed them one by one. Fire style, Great Fireball Technique, Fire style, Phoenix Flower Fire Technique, Fire style, Dragon Fire Technique, Fire style, Dust Hiding Technique, Fire style, Great Fire Extinguishment, Fire style, Great Fire Loss, Fire style, Great Dragon Fire Technique, Uchiha Sword Art, a detailed explanation, Introduction to Illusion Techniques, Chakra Control. Turning over the red scrolls, looking at the fire style techniques recorded on them, and the blue, purple and other colored scrolls on the table that had not yet been opened. For the first time, Uchiha Toshiro truly felt the power of the Uchiha family. Thinking about it carefully, he felt that it was natural. The Uchiha family originated from Indra, and their bloodline can be traced back to the Six Paths Sage. It has been nearly 1,000 years since they became a ninja family. Chakra, a supernatural energy that originated from the Otsutsuki, has been engraved into the bodies and genes of every member of the Uchiha family. And ninjutsu, a symbol of the power of ninjas, is the lifelong pursuit of every Uchiha after opening their eyes. It is not surprising that so many scrolls of techniques have been passed down from generation to generation. For example, he himself, his father is a ninja, his mother is also a ninja, his grandparents, and his aunt is also a ninja. And as far as he knows, the proportion of children in the family who can become ninjas is much higher than that of other families. Every year, more than half of the children of the right age in the family can successfully extract chakra. This ratio is quite amazing. For children in families like Sarutobi, Ino, Deer, and Chu, a quarter or even a fifth of them can successfully extract chakra. It is no wonder that the Uchiha family ended up so tragically. Without the balance of the Senju clan, there is no one in the entire Konoha village who can suppress the Uchiha in strength. Whether it is the Sarutobi clan to which the third Hokage belongs, or the Hyuga clan with the same Otsutsuki bloodline, or the united Ino, Deer, and Chu. Putting away these divergent thoughts in his mind, he continued to flip through the scrolls at hand, and the remaining ones did not disappoint him. Lightning Escape, Ground Walking, Lightning Escape, False Darkness, Lightning Escape, Overclocked Shock Blade. There are also Wind Escape, Great Breakthrough, Wind Escape, Tornado, Hurricane, Wind Escape, Vacuum Wave, Wind Escape, Vacuum Blade, Ninjutsu, Shadow Clone Technique, and so on. There are about 30 ninjutsu, among them, Fire Escape, Lightning Escape, and Wind Escape techniques are the main ones. There are also some Water Escape and Earth Escape techniques, and each ninjutsu has the experience of practicing and performing the technique. It seems that the chakra attributes of the family ninjas are mostly fire and lightning. The wind attribute should be the second attribute of the family ninjas to practice, in order to cooperate with the performance of the family inherited fire escape technique, and the lightning attribute should be the second attribute inherited from the family. After all, whether it is the Six Paths Sage or Indra, the attributes they show in TV are lightning rather than fire. After reading the scrolls and returning them to their places, he casually flipped through the old-fashioned thread-bound books. Most of the records on them are the nature of chakra and the practice methods of form changes. There are also some illusions, sealing techniques, runes, barriers and other information. Without too much entanglement, after restoring the study, he went to the living room. Sitting on the sofa, watching Uchiha Mika, who was cleaning the kitchen, she waited quietly. Chapter 3 Decision. In the open kitchen, Uchiha Mika was cleaning up the dishes and noticed Uchiha Toshiro sitting on the sofa in the living room after coming out of the study. He didn't pay too much attention, but was just cleaning up the housework in his hands. After about 10 minutes, Uchiha Mika came to the living room after finishing his work. Seeing the child sitting seriously on the sofa, he immediately sat next to him, and picked him up from the sofa and put him on his legs. Our male protagonist showed an expression of no love for life. After all, he is an old man with a psychological age of 30. Being teased by a 16 or 17-year-old girl like a child on his lap, where can he put his old face? After a fruitless struggle, he could only give up helplessly. In the eyes of the girl, his frustrated expression of being violated and unable to resist was too cute, and coupled with the baby fat on his face, there was a cute feeling. Reluctant to accept the reality, he could only put on a stern face, sit on the legs of his sister Mika in a horse-riding posture, and say the words that had been brewing for a long time. Sister Mika, I have decided to become a ninja in the future. Become a ninja? Looking at the little boy sitting on her lap, Uchiha Mika was stunned for a moment. Yes, become a ninja. After saying this answer again in an affirmative tone, she looked directly into the girl's eyes. After listening to the little boy answering her in an affirmative tone and looking directly at her with those black eyes, Uchiha Mika put away the mentality of teasing the little boy. Through those shiny black eyes, she seemed to feel the seriousness and determination of the little boy sitting on her lap. Can you tell me why you want to be a ninja? You know, the training of a ninja is extremely difficult. And after becoming a ninja, injuries, bleeding, pain, and sadness are commonplace during missions. I want to know why my parents, grandparents, and grandparents all became ninjas in the end. I am also curious about the supernatural energy called chakra. What is their unique charm? What makes the Uchiha pursue it unremittingly? At the same time, I also want to become stronger, because I want to know what the scenery is like at a higher place. Listening to the speech of the child named Uchiha Toshiro in her arms, Uchiha Mika was a little surprised, but also felt that it was reasonable. The surprise was because the little boy's answer was not to become a Hokage, not to protect everyone, and to protect the village. Both parents and relatives are ninjas, so do you want to become a ninja? And the curiosity about the power of ninjas, and finally want to see the scenery at a higher place. This answer is really Uchiha. I didn't expect to hear such an answer from a 4-year-old child. The girl added silently in her heart, if you want to become a ninja, Dong Shilang will have a hard time in the future. In another month, the tribe will teach children to refine chakra and basic physical skills. Shuriken throwing. Preschool training will begin, so you don't have to wait too long. No one stopped it. For Uchiha, becoming a ninja is also an ancient tradition. The 4-year-old child has also reached the time to learn to refine chakra, but there was a faint sadness in her heart. This may be the fate of Uchiha, the girl murmured. The word fate is widely circulated among ninjas. Countless ninjas feel helpless in endless tasks and killings. Hearing that her aunt had no intention of stopping her from becoming a ninja, Uchiha Dong Shilang took out a yellowed paper from her arms and handed it to her. Medicinal bath? Looking at the content on the paper, she was a little surprised. It seemed that she was well prepared. This is the medicinal bath recipe passed down from generation to generation by the Uchiha. Every child wants to become a ninja. As long as the family conditions allow, every Uchiha parent will prepare it for their children. Once a week, soak for about 1 or 2 hours each time, combined with proper exercise and muscle stretching. This is one of the reasons why the Uchiha family children have a high success rate in refining chakra. The training of ninjas is a very precious and difficult thing. Among the children of ordinary civilians, there may be only one person who can practice chakra among 10 or dozens of children. In large, medium and small families, Only one out of several children can successfully refine chakra. The longer the family's history of using chakra, the greater the success rate of children in the family refining chakra. The prescription in Uchiha Dongshalang's hand can increase the success rate of children refining chakra, and its value is extremely precious. In this case, Dongshalang, come with me. Uchiha Mika put the child down from her legs and took his little hand to the direction of the bedroom. Push open the door and enter the bedroom. Take out a dark wooden box from the drawer under the bedside table. After opening it, I saw 2 passbooks and some valuable items such as house deeds. Take out the passbook. Toshiro, this is the legacy left to you by your sister and brother-in-law, that is, your parents. The other passbook is the certificate for receiving the pension from the village. Since you're determined to become a ninja, you must make the necessary preparations. This passbook contains a deposit of more than 6 million taels, the price of the medicinal materials for a medicinal bath. If the market does not fluctuate much, it is about 50,000 taels, once a week. The duration varies from 1 to 3 years according to the economic strength of each family. If you calculate it this way, a total of about 7.8 million taels will be spent in 3 years. It is slightly insufficient, but if you get medicine from the clan, there will be certain discounts and subsidies, which is more than enough. As for the consumption of life and daily training, you can get 3,000 taels from the village every month. The clan also has a subsidy of 1,000 taels. If it is just to deal with a child like you, there is no problem. Uchiha Toshiro opened his mouth in surprise. I know that ninja training is very expensive, but I didn't expect it to be this expensive. Seeing Toshiro's surprised expression, Uchiha Mika snorted and laughed. Do you know how amazing it is? After saying that, she pinched his little face. Uchiha Toshiro was extremely lucky that he was born in a relatively wealthy ninja family, and there was no bloody plot of adults bullying children after their death. Thank you, Sister Mika. This thank you. It was not only a thank you to Uchiha Mika for her meticulous care for the original body in the past few days, but also a thank you for her honesty to herself. Well, don't be happy too soon. Whether you can successfully extract chakra is still unknown. Uchiha Mika accepted the boy's thanks calmly, but seeing the smile on the boy's lips, she couldn't help but hit him. Chapter 4 Beginning. The next morning, accompanied by the morning mist, a small figure walked out of the house. Toshiro, why are you out so early today? On the way, he met many tribesmen who got up early. Some of them started to work early because of their livelihood. Some of them got up early to exercise like him. When they met someone who knew him, they would always greet him with a kind smile. Good morning, Uncle Tesho, I'm going to exercise. When he met the friendly greetings of the tribesmen, Uchiha Toshiro did not hesitate to return a big smile. At the door of the station, looking at the tall torii and the eye-catching Uchiha clan emblem engraved on it, he couldn't help but sigh secretly. I don't want to start preparing to become a ninja so early. But the Uchiha surname and the tragic end in the future forced him to work hard to become a ninja early. Uchiha Toshiro, who complained in his heart, began to trot around the clan land slowly. It is now the spring of the 36th year of Konoha. The Nine Tails incident will not happen for another 12 years. The Uchiha clan is still located in the center of Konoha. After all, they are the founding family of Konoha, and it is understandable that they have a piece of land in the center of Konoha. Although the settlement has become a little crowded due to the increase in the number of clan members over the years, the clan members have mentioned many times that they want to expand the settlement. But looking at the crowded families of all sizes, Konoha's functional departments and the Hokage building, no matter which world it is, the area in the center of the city is always very expensive and it is difficult to find a house. After extinguishing the random thoughts in his mind, Uchiha Toshiro began to run seriously. Although this body is not as strong as a 4-year-old child, it is not advisable to exercise too much for the first time. Set a goal of 3 kilometers first, see how the body reacts, then do sit-ups, push-ups, frog jumps and other projects. Take it step by step. Whether it's the Third War or the night of extermination after the Third War, there's still a long time to go. Don't rush. Haste makes waste. An hour later, after jogging for nearly half an hour and resting, he did sit-ups, push-ups, frog jumps and other body weight exercises. Exhausted, Uchiha Toshiro returned home with trembling legs. At this time, Uchiha Mika had already prepared breakfast. She was waiting for him to return. It must be very hard, Toshiro. After using a hot towel that had been prepared long ago to help wipe the sweat off his face and neck, she handed over a small medicine bottle the size of a fist. Apply the medicated oil inside to the knees, ankles and other joints, and then rub them with your hands until they are hot. Following Uchiha Mika's instructions, after a busy period, he looked up at her and asked, "Is this medicine used to relieve knee and ankle injuries?" She didn't help him as usual. Uchiha Mika just stood aside and watched quietly. Looking at the unfamiliar movements of this young child, she just pointed out the correct way to apply it. Toshiro wants to become a ninja, and these are just the first steps. There will be more difficulties and hardships waiting for you in the future. Sister Mika, I will keep going until I become a strong person, the strongest, and no one can defeat me. He didn't notice that the person next to him was talking about the strongest person, not the strongest ninja. Good momentum. Then the future strongest ninja. Let's start eating now. He patted the child next to him on the head, then took the child's hand and walked towards the restaurant. Today's breakfast seems a little different? Uchiha Toshiro asked in surprise while looking at the breakfast on the table. There were 2 breakfasts on the tray on the table: bread, beef, carrots, greens, and tofu. There were also 2 boxes of milk next to it. Each dish was served on a small plate. The portion was not large, but it was unusually exquisite. Of course, it's not easy to become a ninja. You need to take in protein, vitamins, trace elements, and get enough sleep and rest. You still have a long way to go. I'm starting. Sugoi. Today's breakfast tastes super good. Hearing Uchiha Toshiro's exaggerated praise, Uchiha Mika's beautiful eyes narrowed with a smile. Although there was a flattering component, the carefully prepared breakfast was recognized by the diners. It was not in vain, so she didn't care about this little impoliteness. Hey, Toshiro has already started to work hard to become a ninja. But at your age, it's more important to have fun. I know. I'll go out for a walk after a break. My sister's child is unexpectedly sensible. It seems that she heard a hint of reluctance in the child's words, but in the end she decided to listen to her words and go out. Are you afraid that she will worry? Looking at the portraits of her sister and brother-in-law on the wall, Uchiha Mika thought, I'm going out. After breakfast, she rested for another half an hour. Uchiha Toshiro stepped out of the house again with his short legs. Although it was the first time to exercise today, he exercised for nearly an hour. He also did sit-ups, push-ups and frog jumps. Now he just had breakfast and rested for half an hour, and he unexpectedly regained his energy. It seems that the strength of this body is higher than I thought. I don't know if it is because of the erosion of chakra from generation to generation. The physical fitness of children in this world has skyrocketed, and they are a little exaggerated. Is it to make the body more adaptable to the energy of chakra, or is it an alternative blood limit? As far as I know, it seems that the longer the history of the ninja family is, the higher the proportion of ninjas born in the family seems to be. While walking in the family residence, responding to the enthusiastic greetings of the adults, he was thinking about these questions in his mind. The Uchiha clan members are not as cold and cruel as originally imagined. In Toshiro's original imagination, the Uchiha clan members should be unscrupulous in order to open their eyes. A bloody and cold clan that killed their companions and relatives. But after a few days of contact, whether it was Uchiha Mika who took good care of him, or the warm greetings from the clan members he met along the way, all broke his original imagination. Well, don't jump to conclusions. Most of the clan members I have contacted these days are ordinary people, and there are not many ninjas. When I have more contact with them in the future, I will observe them slowly. While strolling around, Uchiha Toshiro also saw a few ninjas wearing green vests with red and white table tennis rackets and family emblems on their backs. Although I didn't know them, they were not much different from ordinary people. The Uchiha base is not too big. After all, it is just one family. After a few minutes of walking, I basically reached the end and arrived under the iconic red torii. Chapter 5 Konoha. Bidding farewell to the enthusiastic tribesmen, Uchiha Toshiro stepped out of the Uchiha's residence and came to Konoha village. Looking up, from left to right, there are the huge rock faces of the first, second, and third Hokage. Although the faces are a bit dull, they have been staring at the village at the foot of the mountain and the people living in the village since the day they were carved. What a brilliant idea! Carving your own face into a huge rock statue, staring at the village, and letting the people in the village stare at you, inspiring people's yearning. In this way, it can inspire generations of ninjas to work hard towards protecting the village, protecting everyone in the Hokage. Although the first generation Hokage was a little silly in the TV, his ideas were still quite right. Walking slowly along the main road in the village, looking at the bustling streets around him, Uchiha Toshiro had some wild thoughts. Is this the Hokage building? It feels uglier than in the anime TV, and the overall shape is oval. It looks like an egg standing upright with the protruding parts at both ends cut off and then painted red. He complained about the unique aesthetics of the Hokage building. He walked through the bustling streets and passed by Konoha Hospital, Ninja School, Konoha Police Headquarters building and other buildings. Yakiniku is already there, but I didn't see a Kairaku ramen. Hasn't it opened yet? Uchiha Toshiro, who had been strolling for more than an hour, was wearing a fox mask on his head. He was holding a small paper bag in one hand and a string of 3-color meatballs in the other, tasting them with relish. It's Konoha's famous 3-color meatballs. The taste is really good. He didn't plan to shop, but he thought of the 200 taels of paper money that Sister Miko had specially stuffed into his pocket before he went out, and the other party's concerned eyes. After thinking about it, he decided to buy a toy to bring back to reassure Sister Mika. As for the 3-color meatballs, this was influenced by the original anime. He originally planned to try it and forget it, but he didn't expect it to be quite delicious. At this moment, a small white figure rushed out from the side. Careful Kakashi, don't bump into anyone. Behind the white figure, there were 2 people, a couple. His eyes followed the child in front, but it seemed a little late to remind him. With a muffled bang, the white-haired child was knocked over. The paper bag containing the 3-colored meatballs in Uchiha Toshiro's hand also fell to the ground. I'm sorry, are you okay? Following the child, the husband of the couple hurriedly picked up the paper bag on the ground. The wife helped up the white-haired kid who had just fallen. Kakashi was too reckless just now. Did I hurt you? After checking the paper bag in his hand, he found that it was not damaged and the problem was not serious. While handing it to Uchiha Toshiro, he helped him up and asked apologetically, "It's okay, I'm not hurt." I heard him call that white-haired brat Kakashi just now. Could this white-haired uncle be the White Fang of Konoha, Hatakesukumo, who only appeared twice in the TV series? Looking at the apologetic white-haired man in front of him, his face was gentle and his figure was not tall. He had messy white medium-length hair with a small braid tied behind his head. He took off his ninja combat uniform and looked quite gentle in casual clothes. It was hard to associate him with the famous White Fang on the battlefield. At this time, the woman who was one step behind also helped up the fallen Hotake Kakashi. "Kakashi, I told you not to run around on the street. Now you bumped into someone. How rude." While lecturing Kakashi, she also gave Uchiha Toshiro an apologetic smile. "I'm fine, Auntie." While taking the paper bag handed over by Hatakesukumo, she responded. At the same time, she was still thinking about Hatakesukumo in her mind. He was blamed by the village for abandoning the mission to save his companions. He was misunderstood by his companions and friends, and finally committed suicide. And Kakashi's mother did not appear in the original work. Did she die in the subsequent mission, or did she die with Hatakesukumo? I don't know if it was the sequelae of the fusion of 2 souls after traveling through time, or the fear and anxiety in my heart when I first arrived in another world. These days, Toshiro couldn't control the chaotic thoughts in his mind, and he often lost his mind. Looking at the child opposite, he really didn't get hurt, and he looked thoughtful after looking at him. "Do you know me?" Hatakesukumo asked curiously, touching Uchiha Toshiro's head. "I heard from the people in the clan that you are the hero of Konoha." Toshiro didn't say much, and answered calmly, "I'm sorry, I was too reckless." At this time, at the urging of the woman next to him, Kakashi reluctantly apologized to Toshiro. "It's okay, no need to apologize, but be careful next time you play on the street." As he said this, he reached out and patted Kakashi, who was 2 years shorter than him. He was always patted on the head by adults these days, which made him extremely distressed. "Well, I happened to touch Kakashi, so I have to touch him back. Oh haha, is it a girl?" Toshiro asked Hotake knowingly. At this time, Kakashi had not put on his iconic mask yet, and did not have the dead fish eyes he would have later. He had a bit of the feeling of Haru Tenshuke, but he looked more like his mother than his father. His face was quite delicate, with a bit of a boyish girl, especially the beauty mole at the corner of his mouth, which added a different kind of charm. No wonder he had to cover it with a mask in the future, based on his many years of experience. I don't know how many girls he would charm when he grows up. It's a boy. Hotake touched his head and smiled awkwardly. Kakashi's mother laughed out loud. As a mother, she was quite satisfied with her son's handsome appearance, and appreciating her son's expression at this time was also a great pleasure for her as a mother. Listening to the black-haired guy opposite and his father's questions and answers, and the mother's sneer, and the smiling eyes, the young child named Hotake Kakashi felt that his eyes were beating inexplicably. An emotion called grief and anger spread in his heart, and secretly made a decision that he must persuade his father to prepare a mask for him after returning. He wanted to cover up his beautiful face so that only he could appreciate it. At the same time, he did not forget to give the guy opposite a big roll of his eyes. "This is our first meeting. I'll give it to you as a gift." He took off the fox mask on his head and stuffed it into Kakashi's hand. Ignoring the other party's somewhat confused expression, he turned around and waved his hand, saying goodbye to them and left. "I'm back." After parting with the Hotake family, Dong Shilang did not continue shopping, but walked back to the family residence with his short legs. "Sister Meixiang, I brought you 3 color meatballs." "Ah, Dong Shilang is so considerate. You don't forget your sister when you go out shopping, so I'll reward you." She picked up Dong Shilang and kissed him on the face. Chapter 6 Medicinal Bath. In the evening, after dinner, Uchiha Toshiro sat on the corridor outside the house. His 2 legs were hanging in the air, swinging back and forth. He was holding a book about the history of the Uchiha clan and reading it casually. "Toshiro is ready. Come here quickly." Uchiha Mika's voice came from inside the house. Following the voice, Toshiro came to the bathroom in the house. At this time, Uchiha Mika was busy with a big wooden barrel with her hair tied up. White water drops flowed down from her forehead along her temples. I don't know if it was because of the steam in the bathroom or because of fatigue. There are still a few medicinal herbs that need to wait until you, Toshiro, successfully refine chakra. They can be added and used. In this way, the medicinal effect will be better. Looking at the relatively large bathtub in front of him, Toshiro hesitated for a moment. On the one hand, it was because this bucket of brown bath water exuded a strong smell of Chinese medicine. It made him feel a little bad. On the other hand, the temperature of the medicine in the bucket was too hot. The last reason is that he, a man with a mental age of 30, undressed in front of a girl of 16 or 17 years old. What kind of look is this? Although he has gradually given up on treatment in the past few days, it seems that she saw Dong Shilang's hesitation. The girl named Uchiha Mika narrowed her eyes and revealed a faint smile. She picked him up with one hand and quickly stripped off his coat, shirt, trousers and the last line of defense. She threw him into the bathtub. "Ah, it's so hot, it's so hot, it's so hot." Dong Shilang instinctively held the bathtub with both hands. He jumped up and wanted to escape from the scalding bathtub. At this moment, a snow-white arm suddenly reached out and held his head, and pushed him back into the tub when he jumped high and wanted to jump out of the bathtub. "If you can't stand this pain, Toshiro, then you'd better give up the idea of becoming a ninja as soon as possible." Looking at Toshiro, whose skin was red from being burned in the tub, Uchiha Mika did not retract her hand that was pressing on his head. As a ninja, learning to endure pain is his first lesson. In a ninja's career, there are physical pains such as physical training, learning ninjutsu, getting injured, bleeding, and even being killed. There are also mental pains. During the mission, teachers, companions, relatives, friends, and even lovers passed away one after another, which is commonplace. Okay, Sister Mika, don't press my head anymore. I've slowly adapted to it. Toshiro, who was almost standing in the tub, gasped for breath, and his skin was red from the potion in the tub. Oh, have you slowly adapted to it? Then I'm going to start the next step. As she spoke, she retracted her right hand. She bent down and took out a few pieces of wood from somewhere. She shook them in front of Toshiro's eyes. She stuffed them into a stone secret door at the bottom of the tub. He formed seals with his hands and blew out a hot flame from his mouth to ignite the wood. Then he took out a thermometer from somewhere and stuffed it into his hand. Watch out. If the temperature exceeds 70 degrees, Dongshilang will be cooked. And the higher the temperature of the medicinal bath, the better the effect. Looking at Uchiha Mika's operation, Dongshilang suddenly felt a little regretful. Shouldn't he become a ninja? Or if he became a ninja, he should just be an ordinary ninja, and there is no need to fight so hard. At the same time, he couldn't help but curse in his heart. Others who traveled through time either had golden fingers or grandfathers, or at least had a system, but when he came here, he had nothing, except a pitiful Uchiha identity. Dongshilang couldn't help but feel like crying. It's tragic to think about it. Others traveled through time, graduated at the age of 5, killed Chunin at the age of 6, became Jonin at the age of 7, and became cage level at the age of 8. Cultivation is eating, picking up girls, and having a smooth journey. There are endless crushing operations. By his end, it's almost like a boiled lion's head, and this is just the first step of a long journey. A long sigh. Same people but different fates. Uchiha Toshiro distracted himself by complaining. He suffered step by step. On the other side, Uchiha Mika was staring at the thermometer. One hand was on Toshiro's back, feeling his heartbeat. From time to time, he adjusted the temperature of the flame to control the water temperature. He was also busy and sweating. Time always passes slowly in pain. However, no matter how long the pain is, it will always come to an end. Just when Toshiro felt that he was about to faint, Uchiha Mika pulled him out of the bathtub. At this time, Toshiro's whole body was red, like a cooked braised prawn. His head was also dizzy. Toshiro, are you okay? Toshiro, who had just wrapped himself in a blanket, finally breathed a sigh of relief and regained a bit of clarity. Sister Mika, will every medicinal bath in the future be like today? If every medicinal bath was as painful as today, he felt that he didn't even need to become a ninja, and it wouldn't be long before he would be cold. Of course not. As Toshiro successfully refined chakra, it will be easier to deal with the high temperature of the medicinal bath. Holding Uchiha Toshiro, she walked towards the bedroom. Uchiha Mika answered as she walked. Seeing the child in her arms sighing with relief, she smiled playfully again. The clan's prescriptions have been improved many times. The higher the temperature of the medicinal bath, the longer the duration, and the longer the years, the better the effect. Most children can't last for more than 3 years, and the temperature of the medicinal soup has not reached the most suitable high temperature. Hearing this, Toshiro couldn't help but frown. The higher the temperature, the longer the duration, the better the effect. It feels like the more you torture yourself, the better the effect. Which idiot invented this prescription? Has he ever used it himself? Okay, stop complaining. We're going to start the second step now. The second step, isn't it just resting after the medicinal bath to absorb the medicinal effects? Putting Toshiro on the bed, it's for better absorption of the medicinal properties. So there is a second step. Beginning, Uchiha Mika reminded, and began to work. With a crisp click, Uchiha Toshiro's right hand twisted in the direction of the anti-joint. Ignoring the child's groan of pain on the bed, Uchiha Mika continued the movement of her hands. She also explained to him, after the ultra-high temperature medicinal bath is the best time to stretch the muscles and bones. As she spoke, she helped him up. With another crisp click, she then tried all the difficult and challenging movements that she had never dared to think of in her previous life, such as bending down, high kicks, and splits. Chapter 7 Uchiha. It was another early morning. Uchiha Toshiro was sweating after morning exercise and stepped into his own courtyard. I'm back. He stepped into the entrance hall. He changed his shoes. After entering the house, he found that breakfast was almost ready. Go wash up first, Breakfast will be ready soon." Busy voices came from the kitchen. After a while, Uchiha Toshiro sat at the dining table in a fresh outfit and began to enjoy a hearty breakfast. Since he began to prepare to become a ninja, Uchiha Mika's 3 meals a day were extremely particular. Milk, bread, beef, mutton, fish, various vegetables and fruits are very well matched. Feeling this silent care, Uchiha Toshiro had a warm feeling. The uneasiness of arriving in a foreign place for the first time was also reduced a lot. The preschool training of the clan has been completed, and Toshiro had successfully extracted chakra. From today on, sister will go to the police force for normal duty. Looking at the little boy eating heartily across the table, Uchiha Mika said aloud, "Maybe I knew that Uchiha Toshiro didn't talk much and didn't communicate with other children of the same age. I just thought he was still immersed in the grief of losing his mother. I didn't care about the table manners. I just wanted to communicate with him more." Unknowingly, it has been 2 months since I came to this world. From the initial confusion and anxiety to the current peace of mind, Uchiha Toshiro has completed the transformation from an ordinary earthling to a native of the Naruto world, and the 1-month preschool training also ended yesterday. As for the chakra refining, it was successfully refined on the 2nd day of the training. This result is not the best, not as good as those geniuses who succeeded in refining chakra in just 1 day or even a few hours after being exposed to the chakra refining method. It is not too bad. It can only be regarded as an upper middle level in the Uchiha family, which is much better than those children who took nearly a month to succeed at the end of the training. One of the more than 20 children who participated in the training with him at the same time successfully refined chakra that night. After him, there were 5 or 6 who succeeded within a week. The success rate of the remaining children was lower as time went by. In the end, 13 people, 7 men and 6 women, succeeded in refining chakra. The rest were eliminated. Among these 13 successful people, it is unknown how many can become genin and finally adapt to the cruel life of ninja. At the same time, basic physical skills, basic swordsmanship, shuriken throwing, and hand seal courses are also taught. And the last one is a scroll of fire escape. Among them, physical skills and hand seals are the basics of ninja basics. Swordsmanship and fire escape are tailored according to the characteristics of Uchiha. As the holder of the blood limit Sharingan, even ordinary Uchiha people have better eyesight than ordinary ninjas. The Uchiha family's shuriken throwing skills and exquisite swordsmanship are also the magic weapon for the family ninja to defeat the enemy. In addition to its powerful fire escape ninjutsu, there is also the powerful insight brought by the awakening of the Sharingan and the Sharingan illusion that can be performed without a seal. In this way, the Uchiha clan gave birth to perfect ninjas who were proficient in ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu. These were also the source of the Uchiha clan's strength. As for the fire escape scroll that each of them had, it records the basic fire escape ninjutsu, the Great Fireball technique, the Dragon Fire technique, and the Phoenix Flower Fire technique, which have been passed down from generation to generation in the Uchiha family. For the children of the Uchiha family, fire escape and even other 5-element escape techniques or genjutsu are not too precious. Whether it is their own original family or the relatives and friends around them, they all have some collections. After all, becoming a ninja has been the tradition of the Uchiha clan for thousands of years. There will be more or less various ninjutsu, genjutsu, or training experience and other legacies left in the family. What the family really controls tightly are the various secret techniques or forbidden techniques, as well as the secrets of the Sharingan and the Sharingan exclusive genjutsu that goes with it. Come to think of it, I still don't know. Sister Mika, what kind of work do you do in the Uchiha police force? Is it a civilian job, patrol, or a combatant who specializes in catching criminals? Sister, I am in the 3rd division of the Uchiha Guard Force, which is mainly responsible for medical support. Hearing that Dong Shilang was interested in his work, Uchiha Mika explained to him. It turns out that the Uchiha police force, which did not have many scenes in the original work, is mainly divided into 3 divisions. The 1st division is mainly engaged in the arrest of criminals and various difficult tasks assigned to the family by the Hokage. The 2nd division is mainly engaged in daily patrols and also part-time catching spies. The 3rd division, to which Uchiha Mika belongs, is responsible for Konoha prison, as well as non-combat tasks such as medical logistics. This also shows the main composition of the Uchiha. The first division was mainly responsible for combat tasks before the construction of the village and after the formation of the guard force. The second division is mainly responsible for the defense of the family, mines, field inspections, intelligence collection, and task acceptance. The third division is mainly responsible for the production of barriers, seals, perception, medical treatment, secret medicine, and various ninja supplies. The three branches to which they belong together form the Uchiha family. As for the origin of the clan leader, they are all of the strongest people among the Uchiha. As for the inheritance of father and son, master and apprentice, etc., it is completely unfeasible among the Uchiha. As a result, many internal struggles have been born in the history of the Uchiha clan. Although the work of the major branches of the family and their subordinates has been more or less affected and changed after the establishment of Konoha, many things have also been passed down. For example, Uchiha Mika, her family used to be mainly responsible for medical treatment and the production of secret medicine. And Uchiha Toshiro's father was one of the main figures of the third division before his sacrifice. Otherwise, there would not be so many ninjutsu, illusions, and various seals and barrier scrolls left in his family. It seems that the stereotype is not true. I used to think that the Uchiha family had no medical ninjas, but now I think it's a bit ridiculous. The Uchiha and Senju have been fighting each other for nearly 1,000 years. During such a long period of time, the various ninja abilities of the family have been greatly developed. For example, if there were no medical ninjutsu, how did Uchiha Madara successfully change his eyes? Think about the Uchiha fire ray performed by Obito in the later period. I think there should be some achievements in non-combat fields such as barrier seals. An ninja family, especially a powerful family like the Uchiha that stands at the top of the ninja world, the benefits brought to every family member are obvious. Every family member who wants to grow will have fewer detours on the road to becoming stronger. There is no need to take risks like civilian ninjas to perform a lot of dangerous tasks in order to obtain ninjutsu. These can also be regarded as Uchiha Toshiro's plug-in. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, Cultivation. After breakfast, Uchiha Mika packed up and put on a Uchiha-style ninja vest to go to work. Wait a minute, Sister Mika. When you come back, can you bring me some books about human muscle structure and medical treatment? She asked before leaving. It's okay to bring some books back. But Toshiro also needs to make more friends. Uchiha Mika was no stranger to a 4-year-old child who was so eager to learn and eager for knowledge. After 2 months of contact, she found that her sister's child was unusually mature and precocious compared to his peers. He was studious, serious, and self-disciplined, which were very rare qualities for children. He possessed all of them, which made her feel relieved. But she also began to worry about Uchiha Toshiro's growth, so she hoped that he could make more friends and have more time to communicate and play with children of the same age. He frowned and was unwilling to play with those little brats, but seeing Uchiha Mika's insistent expression, he nodded again to agree. Then it's a deal. A man should keep his promise. Yeah. After confirming that Uchiha Toshiro was not being perfunctory, she smiled knowingly. Then, sister will leave first. As for the things you specifically requested to order, someone will deliver them in 3 days. She watched Uchiha Mika leave. Uchiha Toshiro returned to the study and pulled out a thick book from the bookshelf. There were 5 big words printed on the cover, detailed explanation of chakra. In the lower right corner of the book, it was written that it was written by Senju Tobirama. He was going to use it to kill time. This was his first time to practice in his 2 lifetimes. He thought that understanding chakra, the most important factor in becoming a ninja, was a very necessary preparation. The second generation Senju Tobirama's research on chakra was also recorded in history. Think about the various ninjutsu and forbidden techniques he developed. although nearly half of them were aimed at Uchiha. But the proud Uchiha had to admit his outstanding talent. Sitting on the corridor outside the house, Uchiha Toshiro holds a book in his hand, sometimes reading it carefully, sometimes looking up to watch the clouds in the sky, and occasionally appreciating the scenery in the yard. Well, this kind of life is actually not bad, although the training is a little hard. But thinking of the inevitable Third Ninja World War and the Nine Tails incident, the Uchiha clan genocide, and the subsequent air ninja invasion, Pain's bag of rice is carried to several floors. There are also Uchiha Bido, Uchiha Squad, Black Zetsu and other hidden bosses behind the scenes. It's inevitable that his scalp is tingling. Knowing too much is sometimes not a good thing, otherwise, being an ordinary ninja might not be bad. Speaking of which, Uchiha Bido should still be a little kid now. Should I kill him in advance? Forget it. If there's no Uchiha Bido, there might be Uchiha Bido, and his age is not much different from Uchiha Bido. What if Madara sets his sights on him? Well, let's not make trouble. Thinking of Uchiha Madara who was hiding in some corner in his old face, Uchiha Toshiro couldn't help but shudder. How does the saying go? It's better to let my friend die than to let me die. Good luck to you, Obito. He read the book for nearly 2 hours. He put away the book. He walked towards the building on the left side of the house. He opened the door and entered the house, which was a large and empty dojo. The floor was all solid wood. There was a sandbag hanging in the middle. This place is very suitable for children of his age to practice physical skills. I think the original father also sweated here when he was a child. Followed by a loud shout. A fist trapped in bandages hit the sandbag with a crisp pop. The sandbag just shook slightly. He followed closely. The second punch, the third punch, and the fourth punch hit the sandbag in succession. There were knee strikes and whip kicks mixed in. The 4-year-old child's punches were not heavy, but every attack seemed extremely serious. Swinging arms, raising legs, closing fists, kicking feet, every move was done in the way taught by adults, with standard movements and methods. Although he had no experience in cultivation, however, a tall building is built from the ground, and glory can only be achieved by oneself. The body is the capital of revolution, and he still understands these principles. For nearly 2 months, his cultivation plan has been carried out in an orderly manner. Every morning, he gets up at dawn to run, starting with a slow jog, slowly accelerating to a normal run. Then there are push-ups, sit-ups, frog jumps, pull-ups and other movements, which take about an hour, and then eat breakfast. After breakfast, rest or read for 2 hours. Then proceed to the most basic physical training, rest or practice seals. After lunch at noon, take a nap for an hour. In the afternoon, I practiced swordsmanship and shiken throwing for an hour, and practiced hand seals. At night, I refined chakra for an hour before going to bed. I practiced for only 3 hours a day. I didn't count the chakra refining. After all, I was sitting still. The extra time was either reading or going out for a stroll. There was no way to become a jonin or even a cage-level strongman immediately. But my body was only 4 years old, which severely limited the progress of training and practice. Although such a life was a bit boring, it was somewhat helpless. The technological development of the world of Naruto was not mature. Now in Konoha's 36th year, refrigerators, microwave ovens, and televisions have not appeared yet. Well, television should have been available, but it was mostly used for monitoring. There were no many entertainment activities, even adults. The nightlife was relatively boring, not to mention children. In terms of the practice of ninjutsu, Uchiha Toshiro was not eager. Konoha had not yet reached the time for him to go to the battlefield. In his plan, until he went to the ninja school, physical strength and endurance training were his first choice. Secondly, the amount of chakra, and the control skills. Of course, swordsmanship, hand seals, and shiken throwing cannot be left behind. People often need to set a goal for themselves. Only with a goal can they find the right direction and move forward in big strides. Well, set a small goal for yourself first, become a jonin, and survive the Third Ninja World War. As for becoming a cage-level strongman and opening the Meixiang Sharingan, avoid the tragedy of the family, and defeat the mastermind behind the scenes. These things can be considered, But everything depends on the situation. It's not that he doesn't want to set a grand goal, the problem is that he is not completely sure about opening the Meixiang Sharingan. After all, where are the conditions for opening the eyes? As a modern person with a normal outlook on life, he can't do what Indra did. And as an only child, he has no brothers. The probability of opening the eternal Meixiang is 0. As for transplanting Hashirama's cells, he is not very willing. No one would like another face to grow on his body, even if that person is the first-generation Hokage. Chapter 9 Play. After lunch, he took an hour nap. He practiced swordsmanship and shuriken throwing for an hour. Uchiha Toshiro planned to go out for a walk. Since he promised Uchiha Mika that he would play more with his friends, he did not intend to break his promise. It was not for anything else, but just to kill time. Otherwise, he would be either reading or practicing every day, which was so boring. Wouldn't it be even more exaggerated than the previous 996,007? Well, it is still necessary to combine work and rest. Otherwise, if you train hard at a young age and exhaust yourself, wouldn't everything be over? You have to eat one bite at a time and walk one step at a time. He still understood this simple truth. As for playing with little brats, he had no choice. He was a 4-year-old child, and it was impossible for him to mix with adults. He could not participate in those colorful magazines, casinos, kabukicho, bars, etc. Where there is demand, there is service. Thinking back to the social places that he occasionally saw when wandering around Konoha in the past 2 months, it is true that the more things are banned, the better the business. As if he had thought of something, Uchiha Toshiro complained silently. The pastimes of adults in the ninja world are so plain and simple. I'm going out, he said habitually without caring that there was no one in the house. Uchiha Toshiro was wearing a dark blue high-necked long-sleeved shirt and white loose trousers. He was holding his head with both hands while holding a lollipop in his mouth, and walked out of the door with a staggering step. Toshiro this way. From a distance, a child's voice came into Uchiha Toshiro's ears. Turning his head, he saw a little boy who was about his age and wearing Uchiha's characteristic children's clothes. He was calling him loudly and waving his arms to signal him to come over quickly. There were 7 or 8 children of the same age, both boys and girls, sitting or standing around him. These were peers who participated in the clan training at the same time as Uchiha Toshiro. Now is the peace period between World War II and World War III. Whether it is a ninja family or a village, the training of children is not so urgent, and most of them adopt a laissez-faire attitude. Let these little ghosts experience the happy time of childhood. The one who invited Dong Shilang was called Uchiha Longyuo. He has short brown hair. He looks handsome, but a little careless. Dong Shilang, you are here at the right time. You can play ninja games with us. Hey, playing ninja games again? How about changing it? Let's play ghost catching this time. Before he finished speaking, a little girl next to him interrupted. The one who interrupted Uchiha Longyuo's speech was a little girl named Uchiha Yen. Her hair, which was still a little yellow, was tied into a cute high ponytail. Her eyebrows were sparse and her nose was straight. She looked pure and cute, which was unique to girls of this age. This little girl was the genius who successfully extracted chakra in just one night during the training of the clan. It is said that she is also the daughter of a leading figure in the first team, and her parents are both powerful ninjas. Hearing that there were different choices, the 8 or 9 children gathered here formed 2 groups. Some wanted to play ninja games, and some wanted to play ghost catching. They were arguing and noisy. This place is a leisure place specially opened up in the Uchiha garrison for the clan members to rest, walk, and play with children. The children gathered here are all Uchiha children with the family emblem of the flame fan. At this time, the relationship between the family and the village has not yet developed to the freezing point after the night of the 9-tailed fox. However, although it cannot be said that there is no communication between the clan members and the villagers, it is also very few. Just like the world he lived in his previous life, whether it is the provincial party committee compound or the military community. These places with people standing guard and a little solemn can always stop the footsteps of ordinary people invisibly, let alone children. These so-called children of the compound are often a group of their own, and they rarely communicate with ordinary children, even if there are occasionally Uchiha children who are willing to walk out of the family garrison and play with ordinary children. But as the children of law enforcers, this label is also firmly attached to them. Many parents are discouraged, which in turn affects their children. Some children from ninja families are because of the isolation and exclusion of Uchiha by the village since the second generation. After all, there is the village on one side and Uchiha on the other. Anyone with normal thinking knows how to choose. No, these games are too childish and outdated. Let's play a new game. Since we are here to kill time, we must have an attitude to kill time. We cannot change the fact that they are a group of childish kids, but we can change them and let them not play such childish games. New game? It won't be hide and seek or skipping stones, right? If so, it's better to play ninja games. Uchiha Longyuo looked at him with a puzzled look. At this time, both parties in the quarrel also gave up their original goals. They turned their heads at the same time, staring at Uchiha Toshiro, asking him to give a reasonable explanation. No tension. Uchiha Toshiro took out a deck of cards from his pocket, looked at the stunned expressions of the children around him, and smiled knowingly. Toshiro, you're not going to gamble with us, are you? In this place, our families will know before night. We'll all be dead by then. Uchiha Longyuo looked at him in amazement, looking around as he spoke, as if he was doing something bad and was afraid of being discovered by adults. On the other side, Uchiha Yen had a completely different expression. Her mouth was slightly open, and her round eyes were rolling around, as if she was eager to try. Looking at her expression, Uchiha Toshiro raised his eyebrows. What the hell is this eager look? Did she awaken some strange talent? Isn't it said that Uchiha girls are all models of intellectual elegance? The rest, like Uchiha Yen, Uchiha Koxia, Uchiha Taro, etc., also have different expressions. Some are excited, some are curious, and some are afraid, but most of them look eager to try. It seems that if it weren't in public, these kids would definitely not mind giving it a try. Why don't we play poker with them first? He put an end to the nonsense idea in his mind. Uchiha Toshiro glared at Uchiha Ryuo. What are you thinking? How could it be gambling? This is just a prop for a new game. Indeed, this deck of cards is just a prop for gambling? The yellow-haired girl with a ponytail beside him narrowed her eyes and added, well, it doesn't look like what I thought. But Toshiro's so-called new game should be interesting, right? Uchiha Hamura smiled and looked at him, waiting for the answer to be revealed. Chapter 10 Werewolf. The name of this new game is Werewolf. There are 5 types of characters: werewolves, civilians, witches, hunters, and prophet. We have a total of 10 people here, so there will be 3 civilians, 3 werewolves, 1 witch, 1 hunter, and 1 prophet in one game. Each person plays a role. Then what about the other person? Isn't that only 9 people? Uchiha Longyuo couldn't help asking curiously. The other person is of course the referee. And Longyuo, don't interrupt my explanation. I will prepare 9 cards representing each identity. At the beginning of the game, each person draws 1 card to represent their identity, and then, as Uchiha Dongshilang spoke at length, a group of little brats surrounded him, nodding and shaking their heads from time to time. Sometimes they looked as if they had suddenly realized something. Does everyone understand the rules of the game? Don't ask any more questions. Dongshilang, let's start playing a game first. Uchiha Longyuo spoke impatiently. After listening to Uchiha Dongshilang's long speech, he couldn't help feeling dizzy. In his opinion, the rules of the game are so troublesome. Let's try it first. Uchiha Hamura, Uchiha Saka, and Uchiha Taro also nodded and agreed with Uchiha Roka's opinion. Some of the precocious ones felt that this game should be quite fun. Then let's try a round first. Listen carefully. The player who draws A is the werewolf, the player who draws K is the prophet, the player who draws Q is the witch, the player who draws J is the hunter, and the player who draws 10 is the civilian. Do you understand? As he spoke, Uchiha Toshiro and his friends sat in a circle. From the poker, he selected 9 cards representing identities and distributed them to everyone one by one. When everyone confirmed their identities, the game began. Everyone remember your identity and listen to my command. Now it's dark. Please close your eyes. Hozaku, you idiot. Why don't you close your eyes? One of the slightly stupid children looked at Uchiha Toshiro blankly, as if he had just woken up and hurriedly closed his eyes. Okay, those who are werewolves, please open your eyes. Please identify your companions. Please identify the people you want to kill tonight. Following the command of Uchiha Toshiro, a group of Uchiha kids began to play this game that was popular in the world in the previous life. Hatsuo, don't reveal the fact that you are a werewolf, you are out. What do you say? Make your statement and analyze who is the good guy or the bad guy? The witch's poison can only be used once in a game. Well, werewolves can self-destruct, and after self-destruction, they can directly cross the day and enter the night. Uchiha Toshiro pointed out their mistakes and repeated the rules of the game. He also guided them on how to speak and help analyze the situation. It was not until 3 games that these kids slowly had a little bit of the feeling of really playing werewolf, from the straightforward speeches at the beginning. I am a werewolf, what should I say? Asaka is a werewolf, etc. They got to the point. Although everyone's speeches were still quite immature, Uchiha Toshiro believed that as time went by, everyone would become more proficient and these would change one by one. Sugoi, it's really Sugoi, Toshiro, how did you come up with such a fun game? Uchiha Longnuo spoke, his face flushed and he looked excited, and he expressed his feelings to Uchiha Toshiro. The companions around him also nodded and praised him. Haha, it's not that great. Uchiha Toshiro laughed and said perfunctorily, but he also had some feelings. When he took out this game, he was still thinking whether a 4-year-old child could handle it. After a series of experiments, he had to sigh at the precocity of the children in the ninja world. After only 3 or 5 games, they played well. How could I be a werewolf? Don't believe what Taro said, he is the real werewolf, don't be fooled by him. Uchiha Yen looked at everyone with despair, until Huozuo cast the last vote and was helplessly eliminated. Okay, it's dark. Please close your eyes. Werewolves, please open your eyes, and choose who you want to kill. Ignoring Uchiha Yen who was voted out, Uchiha Toshiro, the referee, spoke lightly. As they became more familiar with the rules and gameplay of the game, the enthusiasm of the people who were playing the game of werewolf for the first time became higher and higher. Yen, you are too cunning. Tuosaku, you idiot, I am obviously a good person. Asagi, the werewolf is you. In nature, females seem to be always more cunning than males, and this is no exception in the game. Watching Yen, Asagi and Keiya win the game again and again, Uchiha Toshiro couldn't help but sigh. As they shouted, the shade of the tree above their heads slowly moved to the east. The shadows under their feet became longer and longer, and time was quietly slipping away. And around them, children of similar ages slowly gathered. They surrounded the few people who were playing the game in the center and looked at them with surprise and inquiring eyes. From time to time, 1 or 2 adults would come over to take a look and see what these kids were doing. Happy times are always short. As the sun sets in the west, the sunset shines on these kids who are immersed in the new game and can't extricate themselves. Longnuo is going home. It's time for dinner. Kasen, wait a little longer, there are still 10 minutes left, and the game will be over in the last 10 minutes. Ah, let go, let go. Mom's ears are about to fall off. The young mother is also impatient. Without waiting for her son to finish the game, she directly reached out and picked up his ears to take him home. Uchiha Longnuo, who knew his mother's temper, did not struggle too much. He didn't care about his ears, which had slowly turned red. He hurriedly handed the card representing his identity to a friend next to him who had been watching for a long time. He followed his mother dejectedly and set foot on the road home. It was quite tragic and heroic. The wind is whistling and the Yishui River is cold, and the warriors will never return once they leave. The friend next to him did not disappoint his expectations. They joined the game with excitement and started to play the roles. However, in less than 20 minutes, parents kept coming to call back their reluctant children. People also kept handing the playing cards representing their identities to their friends next to them, and followed their parents home helplessly. When the last civilian was killed, it also announced the end of this game. Uchiha Toshiro clapped his hands and said to everyone, "Okay, it's getting late, so let's stop here today. I believe everyone has some understanding of the rules of the game. See you tomorrow. Chapter 11 Expectations. 3 days later, at 1400 hours in the afternoon, the breeze blew, and the vines wrapped around the fence in the courtyard swayed gently, making a rustling sound. The yellowish and slender bamboo tubes and shells of various colors on the wind chimes hung by a faded red thread under the eaves swayed gently, weaving a crisp and elegant tune. The bright sunlight sneaked through the cracks in the window lattice and shone into the house, like a naughty girl with legs, bypassing the elegant cabinets, jumping onto the small wooden table, and lingering for a moment on the pile of thick scrolls, materials, and notes. Then it walked onto the floor and then to the sofa, spreading to the handsome face of the sleeping man, gently caressing his slightly frowned brows. The breeze was blowing, and the golden glow danced in the wind. The golden skirt swayed across his side face, as if giving him a shy kiss, leaving a faint warmth. Uchiha Toshiro suddenly woke up, sat up from the sofa, looked at the scattered notes on the table, and pinched his temples to wake himself up. The scrolls and books on the table mostly introduced the techniques of chakra extraction, concentration and control. In the past 2 months, he always took time to browse them one by one after practicing. Whenever he read something insightful or had any doubts or guesses, he would always write them down in a specially prepared notebook. A good memory is not as good as a bad pen, and he deeply believes in this. He got up and put the scattered materials and notes on the table together. Then he went to the bathroom to wash his face with cold water, refreshed himself and returned to the living room. Toshiro, are you at home? We are here to play with you. At this time, Uchiha Toshir's carefree voice came from the courtyard outside the house. At the same time, there were the chattering noises of friends. That's right, it was Toshiro instead of Toshiro. As the game of werewolf killing spread among the children in the family in the past few days. As the inventor of the game, and having played roles such as the Hook Wolf and the Charging Wolf many times in the game, he earned this nickname while making his friends around him exclaim that he had learned a lot. Don't give people such meaningless nicknames, idiot. As the game spread among the children in the family, Uchiha Toshiro also discovered a very interesting feature. For some reason, everyone tacitly did not spread this game to others. Only in the Uchiha clan, everyone would play together. I have it, but you don't. A faint sense of superiority also spread among this group of children. Not today. Someone will deliver the things I ordered before, and it won't work if no one is at home by then. Is that so? Uchiha Toshiro seemed to have been hit on the head, and his expression was a little unhappy. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and became energetic again. How about we play at Toshiro's house today? No, he once again ruthlessly rejected Uchiha Toshir's proposal. Just kidding. If these kids go into the house and play for the whole afternoon, who knows what kind of mess it will be. Then he and Uchiha Mika will have to clean up. He dismissed his new friend in a few words. Uchiha Toshiro did not return to the main house, but went into the building on the left side of the house. This old house, which was handed down from the ancestors, has a very unique architectural layout. The living space in the middle of the house is the living space. The bedroom, kitchen, living room, bathroom, and dining room are all there. On the right is an empty dojo for the children in the family to exercise. The building on the left is more like a ninja arsenal. Among them are shuriken, kunai, steel wire, fumishuriken, small sword, and katana. The sword, ninja vest, arm guard, cloak and other ninja supplies are all displayed here. Uchiha Toshiro also saw a set of red armor in the style of the Warring States period in one of the boxes. However, no dangerous items such as detonating talismans and poisons were found, which seemed to have been disposed of in advance. Taking out a rag and grease from the cabinet in the house, Uchiha Toshiro began to carefully maintain these weapons one by one. This was also a homework assigned to him by Uchiha Mika. In her opinion, since Uchiha Toshiro was so precocious, it was not a bad thing for him to get to know and contact some of the items that ninjas would use during missions and battles in advance. After teaching him the ways and methods of maintaining these weapons and supervising him to maintain them once, she handed this task to Uchiha Toshiro. After completing the work at hand half an hour later, Uchiha Toshiro carried a small wooden sword and walked to the dojo on the left. Holding his breath and concentrating, Toshiro held a sword in both hands, his eyes fixed on the head, neck, heart, kidneys and other vital parts of the dummy in front of him. Ha! With a loud shout, Toshiro almost used all his strength to cut the face of the dummy. There was a muffled sound of snap as the wooden sword and the wooden dummy collided. Feeling the recoil from the violent collision at the hilt of the sword, and the numbness in the palm of his hand, he did not stop, but slashed, chopped, stabbed, and slashed at the vital parts of the dummy at a faster speed than before. A full-strength burst will always soon reach a trough. However, in just 10 minutes, the muffled sound of the wood and sword and the dummy colliding with each other, like a storm, became slower and slower, until it was inaudible. After 30 minutes, Uchiha Toshiro, who was panting and sweating all over, had to stop his actions and end this practice. Back in the living room, Uchiha Toshiro picked up the salt water prepared in advance. He took a big gulp and then let out a long breath. He picked up the apple prepared on the table and took a big bite, then sat on the sofa to rest. He recalled the various books and materials he had browsed in the past few months, and his memories of the anime Naruto in his previous life. Chakra, the source of ninja power, is produced by the mixture of human spiritual energy and physical energy. In a more scientific way, spiritual energy comes from the human brain. As people's knowledge, experience, age, and spirits break through or sublimate, they grow. However, physical energy is improved through arduous physical training, recovery from injuries, food supplements, and continuous breakthroughs in self-limits, as well as the growth of age. There should also be corresponding methods of practicing yin done and yang done. However, after searching through all the books in the house, nothing was found. Uchiha Toshiro had no choice but to improve himself through arduous training. Well, there should be methods of practicing yin done and yang done in the clan's secret collection. Let's not talk about it for now, but I must find a way to get it in the future. Let's not talk about yang done in the Uchiha family. At least there must be methods of practicing yin done. Chapter 12 Customization. It was evening again. Uchiha Toshiro was sitting on a low table in the living room, reading a large book about the origin of the seal technique. At this time, Uchiha Mika's voice came from outside the house. Put the things here, and lay this large stone slab here. Uchiha Toshiro looked up and saw Uchiha Mika directing two big men to place a huge stone slab with a diameter of 5 feet square inches the corner of the yard. There was also mixed cement, a huge stone ball and several smaller stone slabs with a diameter of 2 feet square next to it. Seeing that they were panting, the weight should be quite heavy. This large stone slab must be placed steadily, without any tilt. Don't worry, Miss Mika. We will definitely install this stone slab properly according to your requirements. A middle-aged man standing next to the two big men patted his chest and promised Uchiha Mika. The huge stone slab was made in a strange way, with one side smooth as a mirror and the other side extremely rough. There is also a circle of protrusions on the edges of both sides, like the teeth marks of a coin. The two big men are now struggling to place the stone slab on the foundation made of cement, lime and sand. Hey, Don Shilane is out too. He has grown so big in the blink of an eye. The middle-aged man greeted him with a smile when he saw him coming out. Uchiha Dong Shilane didn't know him. There were thousands of people in the clan, and he couldn't know every one of them, but in order to avoid embarrassment, he still smiled and nodded, as a greeting. This is Uncle T-Bing and your father is an old acquaintance. He also attended your full moon banquet. If you want to customize any equipment in the future, you can find him. Uchiha Mika, who was standing aside, saw that he didn't speak, and immediately understood the reason, and introduced with a smile. Uncle T-Bing, hello. Uchiha Dong Shilane greeted politely. I remember when I attended your full moon party. You were still that young. I heard that you have already started training to become a ninja. You must become a powerful ninja in the future. Bring glory to the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Tetsui is a retired chunin from the Uchiha clan. He made many contributions in the Second Ninja World War. Finally, he retired due to injury. The biggest regret in his life is that he failed to open the blood limit of the family, the Sharingan. He is mainly responsible for the creation of some ninja equipment and the construction of the family. There is a shop of his own on the edge of the street of the clan. Together with the surrounding clan members who belong to the same Uchiha clan, he makes a living by selling some daily necessities and ninja equipment. He is also a member of the branch of Uchiha Toshiro. According to the family, those clan members who have not opened the Sharingan are all considered branches of the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan is also divided into the main family and the branch family, and the standard of distinction is extremely simple and crude. Whoever opens the Sharingan is the main family, and those who have not opened it can only become branches. However, unlike the Hyuga family who regarded the people of the branch family as slaves, the Uchiha, the clan of love, did not oppress the branch family. After all, in the original work, even Uchiha Fugaku, the clan leader, had never had servants in his family. Let's look at the Hyuga clan again. Even the young Hyuga Hinata has her own branch family members who are always around to protect her. There are many branch family members in their family who are treated as servants. Of course, everything has two sides, which has also led to the prevalence of the bloodline theory among the family members. Awakening the family bloodline limit Sharingan is the lifelong goal of most Uchiha ninjas. Of course, due to the limitations of qualifications and the so-called capacity, only a few can successfully open their eyes. At the same time, in order to prevent the outflow of the bloodline limit and the leakage of the secret of the Sharingan, it's okay for Uchiha men to marry women from other races, but it is almost impossible for foreign men to marry Uchiha women. This kind of thing is quite common in the bloodline limit family. This is true for the Hyuga, Kaguya, Kurama, Mizunotsuki and other families. The strong who have awakened the blood limit in the family will always be restricted in their choice of marriage. Some people with outstanding bloodlines will even be arranged by the family to marry multiple women in order to give birth to more clan members with excellent bloodlines. Yes, it is a marriage with multiple women. After all, this is a ninja world with feudal systems such as daimyo, nobles, and bureaucrats. The bloody and cruel ninja fights will always lead to the death of a large number of males. In order to ensure the continuation of the family bloodline, the major bloodline families often have cousins, and even extreme brother-sister combinations, polygamy, etc. In order to get rid of the fate of becoming a reproductive tool, the girls in the family always work hard to become ninjas. Only in this way can they break the shackles of the family. When he occasionally wandered around the family, he heard these secrets. Uchiha Toshiro was greatly shocked, and for a moment he couldn't help but imagine, could it be that I, who was born under the red flag and grew up in the spring breeze, dream of opening a big crystal palace? How could I, who has received higher education, be so vulgar? Well, last time when I went grocery shopping with Sister Mika, I seemed to have seen some oysters for sale. How about buying some in advance? I have brought shame to the education cause of my motherland. While Uchiha Toshiro was thinking about it, the two big men beside him had finished their work and took out a strange tool. They measured the smooth side of the stone slab for a while. He nodded to Uchiha Mika, indicating that the installation was completed. Wait until the cement under the stone slab is dry overnight, then push the stone ball up, and Miss Mika's commission will be completed. Without much hesitation, after taking out 100,000 taels from the room and handing them over to Uchiha Teppei, he watched them pack up and leave. Okay, are you satisfied now? I hope the practice method you mentioned will be effective, otherwise the 100,000 taels will be wasted, Uchiha Mika said with a tiger face, touching Uchiha Toshiro's head intimately. The so-called practice method was completely made up by Uchiha Toshiro. In his description, it was a meditation method derived from monks and onmyajas. It can calm the mind, relax the spirit and body, and it is helpless to make up these. After all, the economic power of the family is now in the hands of Uchiha Mika. If she is not convinced, it is impossible to customize such a set of things. But there is a saying that adaptation is not random, and jokes are not nonsense, although it is a bit far-fetched. But in Uchiha Toshiro's view, meditation can indeed, should, may, and probably play a certain role in the body and mind. Otherwise, how could Uchiha Mika take out 100,000 taels? Customize this set for him. Chapter 13 Hope. The next morning, Uchiha Toshiro finished his physical exercise after getting up early. After returning home to rest for a while, he came to the corner of the yard. Standing on the stone slab installed yesterday, he stamped his feet and felt that there was no problem. The stone slab under his feet was rough on one side and smooth on the other. The rough side was placed downwards, and the other side was facing upwards. On the open space beside was a round stone ball with a diameter of 40 centimeters, and the surface was also smooth and shiny. It can be seen that a lot of effort was put into making it. After testing the weight, it was indeed not something that a kid of his age could push. He hurried into the house and called Uchiha Mika, who had just gotten up and was preparing breakfast, to help push the stone ball onto the stone slab. Although cultivation requires perseverance and hard work, Toshiro doesn't need to be so anxious. It's not too late to start after breakfast. I've been waiting for several days. If I wait any longer, the daily will be cold. How could I wait any longer? Since Toshiro began to plan his own cultivation plan, this cultivation has been listed as the top priority by him. Reluctantly, she pushed the stone ball onto the stone slab. It's unexpectedly heavy. Is this kind of training really effective? Recalling the scene described by Uchiha Toshiro in her mind, she was a little uncertain. At this time, Uchiha Toshiro had come to the stone ball with a wooden board and two bamboo poles about 50 to 60 centimeters long. Of course it's heavy, otherwise, I wouldn't bother Sister Mika. This stone ball is a solid stone ball made of granite. The weight should be more than 100 kilograms. The reason why it was a wooden board instead of the stone slabs delivered yesterday was because it was the first time to practice. The wooden board was more flexible and should be easier to use. In addition, the weight of the two stone slabs was not light, and it was not something that a child like him could move at will. After hearing what Uchiha Toshiro said, Uchiha Mika pouted and didn't say much. She didn't go back to the kitchen to prepare breakfast, but stood quietly by and watched his next move. He put the wooden board on the round stone ball and sat on it. Using two bamboo poles to support his body and keep his balance, he slowly sat cross-legged on the wooden board. That's right, he was imitating the method of practicing immortal arts at Meixiang Mountain. In his training plan, the Meixiang Sharingan and immortal arts are the top priorities, which are related to many of his future decisions. If the practice of immortal arts and the opening of the Meixiang Sharingan are all successful, he will try to change the tragic fate of the Uchiha family being exterminated. After all, he is also an Uchiha, a member of the Uchiha family, and this is his inescapable fate. If only one is opened, he will decide whether to save the family or run away with a few close family members based on the results of the practice of immortal arts and the pupil technique of the Meixiang Sharingan. If the opening of the Meixiang Sharingan fails and the practice of immortal arts fails, there is nothing to say, just prepare a plan to fake death and escape, and find a place with beautiful scenery and green mountains and clear waters to spend his old age in peace. As for fighting the Sandaime, Uchiha Bito, Uchiha Uchiha and others regardless of anything, Uchiha Toshiro could only say that he couldn't do it. He was not the type who would not care about anything after getting carried away. After thinking about it again and again, Uchiha Toshiro decided to wait and see what happened. Although Konoha talked about the will of fire all day long, it was enough to just listen to it. There was no absolute power in this matter. If you rashly intervene, you will die without knowing how you died. As for joining the third Hokage, forget it. After thinking about it, I remember that in the original work, Uchiha Uchiha immediately returned to Konoha impatiently after the third Hokage died. It was to deter those eyes that were hiding in the dark and had ill intentions towards Uchiha. If you rashly join the third Hokage, I guess the third Hokage will first consider what your intentions are. Moreover, you have not opened the Meixiang Sharingan, so you are not even qualified to be a pawn in such a major event of genocide. Even if the Meixiang Sharingan is activated, think about the fate of Uchiha Shizui, who was ambushed by Shimura Denzo and had a Meixiang dug out, causing his plan to fail. Although Uchiha Toshiro felt that Shizui's plan itself was not very reliable, he was too naive to think that relying on a pair of eyes could change the contradiction between the family and the village. As for the fairy technique, Uchiha Toshiro was thinking of trying it out, and began to prepare to try it. Well, the premise is that he can guarantee his own safety. As for whether it can succeed, he is not too sure. He can only pray to the almighty god of time travel. Anyway, I have also read the whole series. Dreams still have to be had. What if they succeed? Clang. Ouch. Two sounds came in succession. Clang. It was the sound of a wooden board falling to the ground. Ouch. It was the sound of Uchiha Toshiro falling down. And Uchiha Mika, who was standing aside, laughed without caring about his image. There is no way to blame anyone but himself. The thing he designed was too deceptive. He got himself into trouble. Whether it was the stable stone slab on the ground, the smooth stone ball on the stone slab, or the wooden board on the stone ball, if there were only these two things, he could barely keep his balance by adding a support point if he wanted to sit on it. But Uchiha Toshiro added another layer. Although there were two bamboo poles as support points to keep the balance, the upper and lower sides of the stone ball would cause a chain reaction as long as there was a little shake. This also made it even more difficult to control the balance. Even though he had two bamboo poles as support, he fell off the stone slab without paying attention. Well, although I don't know if this way of practicing will have any results. But seeing Toshiro's frustrated look, my sister is unexpectedly happy, ignoring the ridicule of his unscrupulous aunt. Uchiha Toshiro picked up the stone slab and bamboo pole that fell on the ground, and once again began his immortal art practice. He just couldn't believe that a bunch of toads, snakes and slugs could do it, but he, a 985 university student, couldn't do it. If in the original work, only Hashirama Senju and Naruto Uzumaki, who were the reincarnations of Ashura, succeeded, it would be fine. Since there are Jiraiya, Minato Namikaze, and Kabuto Yakushi in Boruto, even the pervert Orochimaru and his own son Mitsuki, an artificial human, successfully activated the Sage Mode. He, an alien with the bloodline of Otsutsuki and the descendant of Indra, can't do it? Chapter 14. 2 years. The spring breeze cleared the sky, and the warm sun cast its light, illuminating the people walking on the street. The sky was clear and the air was fresh, and it was a nice day. At the gate of the Uchiha residence, the red torii gate engraved with the family emblem stood tall. On the streets paved with rectangular slabs of stone, many ninjas dressed in the uniforms of the Konoha police force flashed through the streets and entered Konoha. There were also many clansmen who went out shopping or strolled, going in and out of the shops. Some returned with full bags, while others returned empty-handed, with nothing in their hands. Continuing to look for the next target, a faint breath of life came to my face. A group of Uchiha family kids came from a distance in groups of 3 or 5, with an idle look on their faces, all carrying bulging bags on their backs, and making noises all the way. Uchiha Toshiro was wearing a black high-necked long-sleeved top, with a striking red and white round fan behind him, trousers of the same color, a ninja bag tied around his waist, white leggings wrapped around his calves, and a 2-foot-long small sword in his hand. At this time, Uchiha Toshiro, who was already 6 years old, could be said to be a little young man. Reasonable physical exercise and adequate nutrition made him over 120 centimeters tall and weighed nearly 30 kilograms. The whole person looked quite strong, like a young calf, standing out among a group of friends. He said goodbye to the elders who had greeted him warmly along the way, and the two Uchiha ninjas standing guard in front of the torii. He walked out of the gate and walked forward. The woods on both sides of the road were all evergreen trees, which were still green even in winter. They were all half-grown children, talking and laughing all the way, passing through the prosperous main street of Konoha, and heading southwest. After half an hour's journey, he arrived at his destination. This is a beautiful river valley area. On the slopes at the foot of the mountains on both sides, there are large patches of tricolor wildflowers, all kinds of colors mixed, and the stamens are slightly spitting out. In the places further up, there are also pink camellias, colorful and dazzling. A white torrent rushed out from the canyon between the two mountains, mixed with melted broken ice, rushing away with a rushing sound, winding through the valley. The flat valley by the river is the destination of this outing. This is the Nen River. Konoha village relies on it for domestic water. In order to ensure the safety of drinking water and prevent enemy ninjas from poisoning, although it is gradually replaced by tap water, it still plays a huge role. In the near future, the nearby area will become the new residence of Uchiha. Uchiha Shizui, who has the strongest illusion of Kodoa Mitsukami, will commit suicide by jumping into the river here. With his death, the filial son Uchiha Ichi will raise the butcher knife for Konoha in his heart, and the dearest to Daoto, play a elegy for this 1,000-year-old family. Arriving at the destination, we chose a piece of green grass as the place for camping today. A large group of nearly 20 little ghosts gathered in groups of 3 or 5. Some carried the prepared fishing rods and fishing cages and walked towards the river. There were also girls, in groups of 2 or 3. They ran to the place where wildflowers were blooming. They picked the flowers they liked, or they formed different card games, which was very lively. As for Uchiha Dongshilang, he found a piece of flat grass. He sat down and began to enjoy the warm spring sun. He glanced at the card game not far away. The little ghosts now are no longer limited to the game of werewolf, tractor, upgrade, Texas Hold'em, etc. He taught everyone all kinds of playing methods one by one, and integrated them into them to pass the time. At the same time, he was awarded the second nickname Poker Prince after Dongshilang. Such warm and happy times always pass by in a flash. I hope everyone can cherish it. He sighed silently in his heart. After a while, Uchiha Toshiro, who was drowsy and sleepy under the sun, stood up slowly and patted the dust off his butt. Is there anyone who wants to go into the forest with me? He glanced at his friends who were playing. Uchiha Toshiro, holding a small sword in one hand, said loudly, I count me in. Servants gathered in an instant. Compared with playing with friends by the river, entering the forest, for these little ghosts, there is a sense of novelty in exploring the unknown. Firework is not good. Fireworks chuck control is too poor. It can't even climb a tree to avoid danger. Dragonfire's okay. Last time I saw Dragonfire practicing climbing trees very seriously. Uchiha Toshiro led 4 or 5 children and walked towards the forest by the South River. The forest around Konoha is very vast and deep. The resources inside are quite rich, with various rare medicinal materials and precious wood. There are also various poisonous snakes and beasts that emerge in an endless stream. Of course, he didn't plan to go too deep with his friends. With the strength of himself and his companions, they were not enough to deal with the dangers in the forest. This place is close to the edge of Konoha, and there are basically no big beasts and poisonous insects, but pheasants, rabbits, and even some wild boars occasionally appear from time to time. Uchiha Toshiro led this group of kids into the woods for more than 10 minutes, found an open space to stop, and directed his companions to start setting traps. Another figure ran towards them panting. How is it? No one is following. No, 2 people wanted to follow, but they were stopped by Yan. The man was called Uchiha Memaru, who was 1 year older than him. Because the ninja school is now on spring break, he mixed with them. Such outings and hunting activities have been carried out several times. Every time it comes to the hunting session, there are always some kids who are not allowed to participate, sneaking behind them. If Uchiha Toshiro, who has an adult mindset, had not been prepared, it is very likely that they would have been deceived and followed secretly. If that were the case, it would be too dangerous. Although there are no ferocious beasts around Konoha, it is self-evident that a 5 or 6-year-old kid would be in danger if he rashly broke in. Therefore, Uchiha Toshiro set the simplest standard. At least he would let his friends join in if they could master the chakra control skill of tree climbing, because only in this way, when they encounter danger, they can at least quickly climb the tree to avoid it. At the same time, he would ask Uchiha Hamura to help keep an eye on them, so as to prevent some kids who don't listen to advice from following them secretly. Uchiha Hamura, who is said to be the daughter of the head of the first team of the family, is the one who received ninja training at the same time as Uchiha Toshiro, and the genius girl who successfully refined chakra on the first night is among the best among her peers. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Hunting. In the dark forest, Dense trees blocked the sunlight from the sky. The light spots printed through the leaves in the forest made the forest look less gloomy. 800 meters away from the trap set by Uchiha Toshiro, Uchiha Toshiro and his friends hid behind a big tree and carefully looked out to see a wild beast in the woods. After the trap was set, Uchiha Toshiro and his group of 6 divided into 3 groups and started searching in the forest. Just now, Uchiha and Uchiha Shao discovered the wild boar together. The 2 of them were surprised and felt that they were not strong enough to deal with it alone, so they quickly found the other 2 groups of companions, and then there was the current scene. Through the gap in the forest, they peeked for a long time. Uchiha Toshiro secretly estimated that the wild boar was not small and weighed more than 300 kilograms. It was covered with thick mane and a thick layer of mud. Through the faint amber light on it, it can be seen that there must be a layer of pine resin on its surface that the wild boar rubbed off from the tree. It forms a thick layer of armor that wraps its whole body. The 2 huge fangs are very aggressive, but the bitter objects they threw, it is difficult for the shuriken to cause substantial damage to it. As for its weaknesses, it is estimated that it is only in the abdomen, eyes and that place. After silently calculating in his mind, he gestured to the friends beside him. After getting their response, he waved his hand and prepared to take action. The hand gestures and secret codes are generally learned slowly after studying in the ninja school. However, in order to play better, that is, werewolf killing, the friends and the tribe all tried their best to get the teaching materials in the ninja school and secretly studied. Whenever they played games, they, as werewolves, used this to communicate, preventing the companions with keen 5 senses from noticing because of the chakra in their bodies. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of the kunai breaking through the air after being thrown disrupted the silence in the forest. At this time, the wild boar, as the prey, was lowering its head and using its nose to dig a bulge under the tree root. Its long and thin tail was still swinging back and forth, and it seemed quite happy. It seemed that it was about to dig some delicious food out of the ground and then put it into its mouth. It didn't feel the danger approaching at all. Hearing the sound, the wild boar raised its head and shook its 2 huge fangs. Clang, a sound of metal clashing sounded, and only 3 of the 4 kunai that were originally shot at him were left. Puff, puff, puff. This time the firing of the kunai was very coordinated, and the 3 kunai hit almost at the same time, but unfortunately the effect was not satisfactory. One of the 3 kunai hit the head, one hit the back, and the other hit the forelimb. Unfortunately, due to the mud, bristles and pine resin on the wild boar's skin, it did not penetrate deep into the flesh, only less than 1 centimeter. The wild boar shook its body and shook off the several kunai on its body easily. It looked at the strange animals opposite in confusion, somewhat bewildered, and a little angry. For its slow reaction, the attack just now was not a tickle, but the damage was not great. At the same time, it was interrupted, and it was about to enjoy a good mood. Use shuriken, aim at his eyes. At this time, Uchiha Toshiro reminded loudly, and took 4 shurikens in each hand and led another wave of attacks. For the wild boar, the damage caused by the kunai thrown by the kids of their age can be basically ignored, forcing Uchiha Toshiro to change his strategy. The sound of the shuriken spinning through the air awakened it, and it almost instinctively lowered its head and used its hard forehead and the thick layer of armor on its forehead to resist the sudden attack. Unlike the relatively heavy kunai, the light shurikens of Uchiha Toshiro's age can also be fired multiple at a time. With a roar of awe, the wild boar screamed hoarsely, and his left eye was cut. It is unknown who fired the shuriken, which rotated at high speed and drew an exquisite arc. It passed by his eyes, and the protruding spikes scratched its thin eyelids and hurt its eyeballs. The wild boar made its unique roar, and kept shaking its head, trying to drive away the sudden pain. At the same time, his right eye was bloodshot, and he fell into a state of rage. Ding, ding, ding. The wild boar, whose eyes were red due to the pain, stepped over the kunai and shuriken that fell on the ground and charged towards Uchiha Toshiro and the others. Act according to the plan. In an instant, the 4 people who stayed here dispersed, one leading the way in front, and one in front to attract the wild boar's attention. The remaining 2 were on the side and rear of the wild boar, and a blind spot of the view prevented it from escaping. With a crazy wild boar following behind him, Uchiha, who was the bait for the first time, couldn't help feeling a little uneasy. However, the careful plan arranged by his companions seemed to give him a shot of cardiac stimulant. It made him feel much more at ease. Although it was not perfect, he successfully played the role of bait. Is this guy too nervous? It's obviously not the first time he has followed us to hunt. Our protagonist, Uchiha Toshiro, slowly fell behind the wild boar. Looking at Uchiha, who was running in front but whose movements seemed a little deformed, he gave a neutral evaluation. Uchiha Toshiro did not rush to do such a job as bait and hunting. In his opinion, proper training is very necessary. Now it's just a wild boar that they can barely handle. Even if they get injured, it won't be too exaggerated. When they really go to the battlefield, it won't be a matter of injury. As time goes by, the wild boar chasing behind will slow down or look back from time to time. At this time, Uchiha, who is the bait, has to stop or slow down, make various provocative movements towards the wild boar, or take out the shuriken to attack it again. The accuracy of the shuriken is really ridiculous, and one of them even floated past Uchiha Toshiro's shoulder. Be careful, Yen must be scared to death. His nervous hands and feet are a little out of control. Don't get hurt by his shuriken, he reminded his friend beside him and complained about Uchiha Yen's poor performance. 800 meters is not far away. The chase will be over in a blink of an eye. Uchiha Shao, who was leading the way in front, suddenly turned back and ran side by side with Uchiha. While running, he whispered something in his ear. And farther ahead, Uchiha Longyuo and his companions, who were participating in the hunt for the first time, had been waiting for a long time. Chapter 16 Hunting 2. Uchiha Riko and his companion Uchiha Yukido, who was 1 year older than him, did not wait for long. Yukido, who was already a first-year student at the ninja school, was fine, but Uchiha Riko, who was just 6 years old and was about to enter the ninja school, was impatient. Finally here, Uchiha Mamoru was seen from a distance. He was already impatient and shouted, almost jumping up with excitement. Calm down, Riko. What we need to do now is to find a safe place to hide and not disturb the prey. Uchiha Yukido, his companion beside him, reminded him. Unlike him, Uchiha Yukido, who had already had several hunting experiences, was quite calm, and at the same time he shook his head secretly. Kids are just kids, not all of them are as mature as Toshiro. The word calm seemed to have come from Uchiha Toshiro's mouth. He patted Uchiha Riko's shoulder and raised his head to gesture to the big tree beside him. He squatted slightly, exerted force on his feet, and sprinted. In 3 or 2 steps, he climbed to a branch about 5 meters above the ground in the middle of the tree. Uchiha Longyuo also climbed up the tree and hid behind the dense branches, quietly waiting and observing, with quite skilled movements. These are the results of Uchiha Dongshilang's subtle influence over the past 2 years. The game Werewolf has a good educational effect, and the direct result is that in the past 2 years, the adults in the Uchiha family have found that their children are becoming more and more difficult to fool. Hunting, a very novel game for children aged 6 or 7, has greatly increased their enthusiasm for training. At the very least, they must be able to successfully complete the tree climbing training, which is the lowest threshold. It forces them to be more diligent and hard-working than usual. At the same time, the basic qualities of ninjas such as shuriken and kunai throwing, trap setting, hand gestures and secret language, and simple mutual cooperation have been trained in advance. Uchiha Dongshilang did this with comprehensive considerations. If he had been a little more cautious, he might have been lucky enough to survive the Third Ninja World War. But if he had not opened the Meixiang Sharingan and failed to practice Senjutsu after the 9 Tails, it would have been extremely difficult for him to survive alone. His fellow clan members of the same age should have been in their early 20s at that time, which was the golden age for a ninja to grow from immaturity to maturity. I just don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Through the gaps in the leaves, the figure in the distance slowly came into their sight. From small to large, it gradually became clear from blurry. At this time, Uchiha, who was running in front, was already out of breath, sweating all over, and his face was extremely pale because of nervousness. In front of him was a narrow path in the forest that was rare for people to pass through. In the middle of the road, there was a place covered with dead branches and leaves, which was the purpose of his trip. He turned around and threw the last few shurikens in the bag of ninja tools behind him at the wild boar, causing it to scream again and again and then launch a new round of charge at him. He gathered his strength and jumped high to cross the trap that was specially designed to remind him, a newcomer, and was not covered up too much, although he stumbled when he landed because he was too nervous, making his pace quite awkward. But it didn't matter at this time, because there was a muffled boom behind him, which was the sound of the prey falling into the trap. Then came the wild boar's shrill scream. This was a rectangular pit specially prepared for it by Uchiha Yukido and Yen. The trap was not well arranged, and it could even be said to be rough. A simple pit was not deep, only 60 to 70 centimeters. At the bottom of the pit, there were several kunai with the blades facing up. The handles of these kunai were firmly tied to strong branches. Then insert the branches into the bottom of the trap until the ring at the end of the kunai hit the ground. Driven by anger, the prey performed a real pig rush. After stepping into the trap, the inertia brought by the high-speed sprint, its own weight, and the soft belly exposed to the kunai by the trap seemed to indicate its fate today. Finally succeeded. Remembering the reminder of his companions, he gathered up the last bit of his remaining strength and rushed to a tree next to Uchiha Longuo. Uchiha Yen was panting heavily and was still in fear. With his physical fitness, a distance of only 800 to 900 meters should not be a problem. However, the beast chasing behind him, the tension of being the bait for the first time, made his adrenaline secrete rapidly, and his physical strength was consumed at a speed several times the usual rate. Just a short run. He already felt exhausted. Haha, it's finally time for me to go on stage. Uchiha Longuo, who had long been unable to contain his excitement, jumped down from the tree. Shit, X2 idiot, X2 this idiot. These were the sounds made by Uchiha Longuo's friends because of his recklessness. Although the pronunciations were different, the meanings were the same. The crude trap did not trap the wild boar. The fear after being seriously injured made it burst out with greater strength than usual. It broke free from the trap in a leap. Driven by the serious injury and fear, it lowered its head towards the figure that suddenly appeared and made the last sprint of its life. Uchiha Longuo, who had just jumped down from the tree and was walking slowly towards the trap, was shocked by the sudden change. He thought that the big thing was settled, but when he saw the wild boar rushing towards him with a tragic breath, his hands and feet were weak and he couldn't even dodge. At this critical moment, a figure suddenly appeared beside him. He kicked him 2 or 3 meters away. Saved. He breathed a sigh of relief. Although Uchiha Ruka was kicked, he was saved and suddenly had a slight urge to defecate. Uchiha Toshiro, who kicked Uchiha Ruka away, did not have time to think so much. Facing the wild boar that was about to rush in front of him, he turned and ran. Chakra gathered under his feet, and in a few steps he jumped up to the big tree where Uchiha Ruka jumped down. Then he exerted force with his feet, and turned around from the front of the wild boar to the back. The wild boar that lost its target burst out of speed because of fear, and there was no way to brake, and it crashed into the tree with a bang. At this time, Uchiha Toshiro finally pulled out the small sword he had brought with him since the beginning, the secret of Konoha. The secret of physical skills. Chapter 17, The Final Strike. At this time, in a beautiful valley by the Nan River, a group of Uchiha kids, led by Uchiha Yen, are actively preparing for a picnic at noon. Some people enter the nearby woodland to collect dead branches and prepare ingredients for the upcoming barbecue. Some people spread out the camping tablecloth and neatly arrange the meals prepared in advance at home. Others put the wild flowers just picked from the hillside in the middle of the tablecloth to add a wild taste. Suddenly, a miserable howl came from the forest far away, startling the birds in the forest and breaking the quietness of the place. Don Shilang and the others seemed to have run into a big guy. Are they okay? Uchiha Koxia looked in the direction of the forest with some trepidation, and turned back to ask Uchiha Yen beside him. It's okay, don't worry, Koxia. Uchiha Yen waved his hand nonchalantly, without even raising his head and not looking worried at all. Really? But it sounds a little bad. Seeing the perfunctory attitude of the little sister next to him, Akaya-saka's heart, which had not yet been relieved, became even tighter. Reluctantly, she put down the cakes she was placing, looked up at the forest in the distance, and explained to the little sisters around her, "Don't worry, Asaka. They are followed by a real ninja. There will be no danger." "Hey, did anyone from the clan follow us?" After a slight pause, Akaya-saka immediately reacted. "There are so many of us camping together, and the clan always sends 1 or 2 adults to take care of it. Besides, although there is no big danger in the surrounding forest, there will always be 1 or 2 wild beasts in the deep forest occasionally. The adults are also worried that we will get lost in the forest, or encounter other dangers." Akaya-saka listened to Akaya-yen's words, thought about it and felt that this was more reasonable. Only then did she calm down and start to busy herself with the things in her hands. At this time, the sun shone into the forest through the gaps in the leaves, and also shone on Uchiha Toshiro. He shouted loudly, holding a small sword tightly in both hands, and fell into an inexplicable self-satisfaction. The secret of Konoha's secret physical technique, 1,000 years of killing. At this time, the forest suddenly fell into an awkward atmosphere _vertical bar. It was not until a shrill howl sounded that it was broken. The people around him were able to breathe out the breath they had been holding for a long time. After completing this kill, looking at the wild boar lying under the tree, which could only twitch its body from time to time, Uchiha Toshiro suddenly felt a sense of relaxation and comfort, and his soul seemed to have been sublimated. "Yan, you are too lame, aren't you? It's only less than a kilometer away. You are already exhausted, and now you can't even sit steadily." "No, I'm just too shocked." Looking down from above, Uchiha Toshiro's performance was completely appreciated. Akaya-yen had a mouthful of something stuck in his mouth and didn't know how to spit it out. One of them even lost his balance and almost fell from the tree. "And Longhuo, you are not really scared to pee, are you?" "No way." Uchiha Longhuo, whose heart was touched, blushed. He almost couldn't hold it in because he was too shocked just now. He was really just a little bit away. Just now, it seemed that something hot and wet leaked out. He quickly jumped up and hid behind the tree with his legs tucked together, which made Uchiha Dongshilang laugh. At this time, whether it was Uchiha Yukito, Yan or Shao on the tree, everyone gathered around Dongshilang. They stared at him, causing fatal damage to the poor prey, and they were all stunned. The little boy, who was only 6 or 7 years old, didn't understand the deep meaning. However, Uchiha Dongshilang's trick at this time inevitably left a shadow on the word weakness in their hearts. It made their poor brains go offline for a while, and they couldn't find the right words to describe this scene. "Who's over there?" Uchiha Toshiro looked up at the canopy of the tree where Uchiha Yukito had just hidden. There was no response, so he changed several angles and looked carefully. Uchiha Toshiro, who found nothing, thought it was just his illusion. "I was almost discovered by these little brats." In the canopy of another tree next to him, a young man in his 20s, wearing the uniform of the Konoha police force, breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, he just didn't control his breath well and it leaked a little. Fortunately, he moved in time. He was almost discovered. This kid has such a keen sense of the 5 senses. However, thinking of the eye-catching scene just now, the young man felt his mouth twitching. Just now, he heard the excited cry of the little brat below, and thought he was going to use some secret skills. The Sharingan was opened, but the result was really the young man hiding in the tree was the ninja who came to take care of them this time, and he was also a member of the Konoha Guard. It wouldn't matter if the children of the family went out to play in the village, but such a large scale, with more than 10 or 20 people, they were heading to a slightly dangerous place like Nan River on the edge of Konoha village. How could the Uchiha family not send people over? Every time Uchiha Toshiro led a large number of friends, carrying large and small bags, to go out hunting and picnics. Among the 2 clan members standing guard at the door, there would always be one person to follow them, but he never showed up. "Okay, stop watching, get ready to clean up. Yukito and Mamoru will go back to clean up the shurikens and kunai left along the way. Longnuo and I will come together to clean up this wild boar and bleed it. The rest of us will check the traps we just set up to see if there are any gains." and dismantle all the traps by the way. Arrange the things to be done. Toshiro squatted down, pulled out his small sword from the dead wild boar, and opened a hole in the wild boar's neck to bleed it. Although there are few large wild animals in the forests around Konoha village, now that blood has been seen, it is better to leave early. There are all kinds of strange and huge monsters in the Naruto world. Dong Shilang doesn't want any accidents to happen here. After a while, the friends who had their own jobs gathered together again. They redistributed the collected kunai and shurikens. Looking at the 2 pheasants and a hare they took from the trap, Dong Shilang couldn't help but sigh. There are really a lot of wild animals in this world. How long has the trap been set? It's only been about an hour, and there is already a harvest. Chapter 18, Fleeting Years. Sugoi. This wild boar is really big. At this time, Uchiha Toshiro had already returned to the canyon campsite safely with his companions. Their main prey today, this wild boar weighing more than 300 kilograms, was placed on a simple wooden sled and dragged forward by the 6 of them. The friends who heard the news gathered in groups of 3 or 5 and looked curiously, exclaiming from time to time. In the past, their prey was just some pheasants, hares, etc., or fish caught from the small rivers in the valley. Today, these little ghosts have opened their eyes. Uchiha Longnuo, Yukido, Shao, Yan, and others seemed like ninjas who had won a battle and were returning to the village to receive the welcome of the villagers. They were heroic and proud, and they didn't look at people directly, with a proud look. Some careful girls noticed the fatal injuries suffered by the wild boar. After that, they all blushed and covered their eyes with their hands. However, some people's fingers were not tightly connected, and through the gaps, you could see pairs of bright eyes. He gave up his position to let his companion take over and continued to drag the wild boar's body. Uchiha Dong Shilang was indeed in a dilemma. It would definitely not work to use boiling water to remove the hair of such a big wild boar. He could only skin it directly. Then it would be very difficult to move it, and there were no handy tools or cutting boards at hand. He looked around and saw a shallow beach covered with gravel by the river valley. He came up with an idea. As for taking action, he was the only one who came, and these little ghosts probably couldn't be relied on. I tell you, the wild boar was only 1 body away from me at that time, and I jumped forward and rolled over. Longnuo, don't brag there. Take them to drag the wild boar to the shallow beach over there, and be careful not to cut your feet with the stones in the river. It is definitely not possible to roast the whole one. One is that you can't finish it, and the other is that it probably won't taste very good without being marinated. Noticing that there are good stones around, Uchiha Dong Shilang thought about it and decided to change the method. It happened to be a lot of ingredients for a barbecue. Everyone, don't just watch the fun here, prepare more firewood. And Hideo, you always fish by the river, are there any smooth stone slabs around here? It's better to be bigger, but not too thick, and the material is tight, too brittle. Uchiha Longnuo was a little unhappy that his highlight moment was interrupted, but he saw Uchiha Toshiro's threatening eyes. His face turned red as if he had just thought of something, and he hurriedly did as he was told. Looking like a dog, he took out a thick-backed machete specially used for chopping branches from his backpack. Uchiha Toshiro never thought that he would become a pig killer one day. Under the warm sun at noon in spring, in the canyon by the Nan River, at this time, the little ghosts of the Uchiha family were divided into 3 groups and waited quietly. Toshiro, can you do this? I've never seen anyone grill meat with stone slabs. It was Uchiha Longnuo who spoke first. He was really incompetent and the best at finding trouble. We'll know if it tastes good after trying it later. But Longnuo, you performed too badly today. Well, I'll punish you by making you grill meat for us later. Glancing at this impatient guy, Uchiha Toshiro said confidently. In front of him was a fire pit with a base made of stones collected locally. Some silt fished out of the river was mixed on the inside and attached to the inside, and then the stone slab was covered with it after it flowed out for ventilation and firewood inlet. Such a barbecue table specially used for stone slab barbecue appeared in the ninja world. He felt the temperature of the stone slab and it was already getting hot. Uchiha Toshiro poured the oil prepared in advance onto the stone slab, and then brushed it evenly with a brush, explaining to the other 2 friends while doing it. He picked up more than 20 pieces of pork from the big leaves on the side and used them as a plate with chopsticks, and put them on the stone slab. When one side was sizzling with oil, he quickly spread the sauce on it and turned it over. The breeze blew a faint aroma of barbecue mixed with chili and cumin. Delicious. It's really delicious. It tastes better than what I had at the barbecue. _. The first one to take action was actually the girl Uchiha. Usually she doesn't say anything, but I didn't expect that she knows the principle of striking first at a critical moment. Really? Uchiha, you are not lying to us, right? Uchiha Longnuo was very skeptical about this, because he had suffered too much in this regard. When playing werewolf with everyone, he was fooled by her and Yan several times. Ah, you are also cunning. Before he could come to his senses, there was only a few pieces of barbecue on the stone slab. The cooking skills and sauces were not as good as the Q of barbecue, but the freshly slaughtered wild boar, the upper shoulder meat that was most suitable for barbecue, was matched with this novel way of eating. For a while, the sounds of scrambling came one after another. You are too stupid. And Longnuo, why don't you put the meat on it? After snatching the last piece of barbecue on the stone slab, ignoring Longnuo's tearful eyes, Uchiha didn't forget to add another knife. Hideo, don't put so much firewood in, it's already smoking. It's choking to death? Who collected this firewood? Why is it still wet? Longnuo, you idiot. You put so much sauce on it. Do you want to kill us with spicy food so that you can eat the barbecue alone? Stop, stop. The oil will overflow if you pour more. Even if a 6 or 7-year-old child successfully extracted chakra, a self-service camping trip would still be bumpy and noisy. 20 or so little kids ate 80 to 90 kilograms of wild boar meat in one go. Even if they all succeeded in extracting chakra, their appetite and digestion abilities far exceeded those of normal children. This amount was still beyond their tolerance. I'm so full, I feel like my stomach can't hold anymore, they sighed. Uchiha Toshiro sat on the grass with everyone else, supporting himself with his hands behind his back and quietly enjoying this leisurely and pleasant time. Well, so happy, I really want to stay in this time forever. Someone sighed. The wind gradually grew stronger, blowing along the distant ridge, over the hillside, over the hills, and cleansing the entire valley covered with lush weeds. The colorful mountain flowers on the hills swayed in the wind, making a rustling sound. The clouds in the sky passed by with the wind, and the sunlight stretched out along a bleak light band through the gaps, falling in front of everyone. The lush and huge treetops swayed in the wind, making a rustling sound, and the shadows of the trees swayed with it. The sound of gurgling water came from not far away, which made people feel peaceful and calm. In this natural sound, Uchiha Toshiro's eyelids moved twice and he fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 19 Drug Development. The sunset glowed redder and redder, and a few golden rays penetrated the clouds and sprinkled on the distant peaks, brilliant like fireworks. As the area of the sky dyed red by the sunset glow became wider and wider, the sun finally set, red and beautiful like fire. Walking in the afterglow of the sunset and covered with the spring breeze, a group of children who had been playing outside for a day gathered together and returned to the Uchiha base. The backpacks they carried when they went out in the morning were not shriveled, but more bulging. The lunch of slate barbecue at noon made these kids' stomachs bulge and their mouths drip with oil. How could they care about the cakes, rice balls, sandwiches and other meals brought from home? Uchiha Toshiro, who played the guest role of pig butcher, was quite simple and rough when dealing with wild boars. He directly removed the head, skin and internal organs, and dug a pit to bury the parts that were either smelly or difficult to handle. Even so, the remaining edible parts still weighed nearly 200 kilograms. Before going home, he divided it into 20 portions, wrapped it with leaves, and distributed it to everyone. Uchiha Toshiro did not treat everyone equally when distributing it. For example, Longnuo, Shao, and some orphans from single-parent families or whose parents died together when hunting together, the portion they got would be more generous. Whether it was a civilian who had no power and was helpless, or a powerful ninja who successfully tested chakra, in this world, the mortality rate was quite high, or died of disease, suffered from the ninjas' fight, the war between the 5 major countries, the tasks that ninjas usually accepted, and so on. No matter which world, life is always fragile. I'm back. After saying goodbye to his friends one by one, Uchiha Toshiro staggered back home. Well, I'm back at the right time. Go wash your hands, and dinner will be ready in a while. The 18-year-old girl has shed her youthfulness and is turning towards youth and beauty. What is coming next is the best time of her life. How was it? Did you have fun with your friends today? Uchiha Mika was extremely relieved about her little brother. Smart and studious, tenacious and self-disciplined, mature and steady, thoughtful, etc. All the words used to describe adults are not too much for him. Sometimes she even thought that maybe this child would become an extraordinary person who could change the family, the village, and even the entire ninja world. Uchiha Toshiro had no idea of his aunt's expectations. If he knew, he would be speechless. No matter how he kept his mature soul in his 30s, his usual performance would be quite outstanding among his peers. And the effort to become a ninja was largely due to the dangers of this world. It was due to the tragedy that would inevitably happen in the future, and part of it was due to curiosity about supernatural powers. It was also very pleasant to get along with everyone today. While responding, he took out a piece of wild boar meat wrapped in leaves from his backpack and put it in the refrigerator. The refrigerator is a new product that was just launched last year. Because of its slightly expensive price, it seems that it is not very popular. In order to convince Uchiha Mika to pay, he spent a lot of time and effort, but the benefits were quite obvious. I heard that Mika has been getting close to a guy named Akihiro in the police force recently. How do you feel about it? Do you have any plans to get married? The two people sitting opposite each other at the dining table in the living room were eating and chatting. You are still a little kid, just eat and play well. These have nothing to do with you. The girl was embarrassed and angry when she was hit on the heart, and glared at Uchiha Toshiro fiercely. Seeing the girl's face gradually turning red due to shyness, and the embarrassment that was gradually unable to be suppressed, Toshiro tactfully changed the subject. How is the development of the special hemostatic drug going? How is the progress now? Speaking of this, the progress is quite encouraging now. In 2 weeks, clinical trials will be ready. It is still the 38th year of Konoha, the village that won the Second Ninja World Wars, licking the wounds left by the war and quietly accumulating strength. As for the medical system, SYNOPSIS proposed to increase investment. It has just started, and everything is difficult at the beginning. A year and a half ago, in order to distract Uchiha Mika from paying too much attention to himself, and for the sake of his own life safety in the future, he proposed to develop a blood coagulation agent that can quickly stop bleeding on the battlefield. After more than a year of arduous research and development, it is finally about to bear fruit. It's so fast. Have you started testing on animals? How is the effect? The reason why the speed is so fast is that Uchiha Mika's medical ninja talent is quite outstanding. Then take the family's secret wound medicine as a blueprint. Try every means to eliminate some of the expensive medicinal materials, so that the price of this secret medicine is greatly reduced. The effect is quite perfect. For wounds not exceeding 15 centimeters in length and not exceeding 3 millimeters in width, it can quickly stop bleeding within 10 seconds to 3 minutes depending on the depth of the wound. It is especially effective for non-penetrating wounds caused by shuriken and kunai. Such a good effect is inseparable from the secret wound medicine formula provided by the family. As an old rival of the Senju, he could only find another way to recover and improve his medical skills. He tried to make up for it by using medicine for wounds and dodging. Oh, is the effect so good? Does the clan plan to add this medicine to the regular medical supplies of ninjas? He never expected that Toshiro's unintentional act would lead to some different changes in the family. After all, it is a big family with strict rules. The medicine was developed using the clan's secret formula. If he wanted to promote it in Konoha village, there would inevitably be obstacles. It's not that simple. Even if the clinical trial performance is good and the clan agrees, there is still the village to pass. Uchiha Toshiro didn't think the opposition within the family was a big problem. Since the family strife 30 years ago, the selection of the head of the Uchiha family would be more or less affected by some villages, not to mention inheriting the will of fire. At least he wouldn't shout about rebellion at every turn. That's why we have to ask that Princess Haim for advice. In order to replace the almost irreplaceable main material, Uchiha Mika not only looked through the family's collection of books, but also received a lot of help from that Princess Haim. I think the clan is likely to agree. As for the village, with that Princess Haim as the matchmaker, the problem is not too serious. After all, it can reduce the casualties of ninjas, and I believe the Sandame will not refuse. And compared to the police department, there is a huge demand from Konoha village. As long as the secret recipe is not leaked, I think many idle people in the family can get a good job. Even the wealthy Uchiha clan has many idle people who cannot become ninjas, and the employment demand is also not small. Chapter 20, Unraveling the Mystery. Yeah, if everything goes as smoothly as Toshiro said, that would be great. She has invested too much energy in this new drug. It would be a pity if it can only be used in the family. Don't worry, Sister Mika. In this matter, both the village and the family can benefit from it. I believe that neither the third generation nor the head of the clan Shigeyama will refuse such a good thing. In order to succeed in a matter, multiple stakeholders are involved. If a result that everyone is satisfied with cannot be achieved, it will often end in vain. The current head of the Uchiha Shigeyama family, one of the graduates of the ninja school, after the untimely death of Uchiha Jing, the disciple of the second generation, he took over the position of head of the clan. Over the years, he has been trying his best to maintain the relationship between the village and the family. At the same time, he is also working hard to reduce the adverse effects caused by the rebel ninja ancestor of the family, in order to return to the power center of Konoha village. To say that the king of dance ancestor of his family is really worrying. It would have been fine if you defected after the establishment of Konoha village, but a few years later you also controlled the Nine Tails and fought a peak battle known to all the ninjas in the ninja world and lost in the end. The impact on the family was quite bad. Under the deliberate guidance of some people with ulterior motives, the three holders of the Meixiang Sharingan in the family broke out into an unprecedented civil war. The family's strength plummeted, and the second generation seized this opportunity. Using the actions of some ancestors as an excuse, the family was kicked out of the center of power in Konoha. Uchiha Toshiro had every reason to believe that if Konoha village had not been established for less than 10 years at that time, the major ninja clans had not yet truly returned. The fate of the Uchiha family was not as simple as simply withdrawing from the center of power. Even so, the family was also happy to get a time bomb. After dinner, Uchiha Mika was about to go to the study to fight for her newly developed new medicine, but she was stopped by Uchiha Toshiro, who was sitting on the sofa. Wait a minute, Sister Mika, I have something to ask you. Hey, since a year ago, Toshiro has hardly taught me anything. Is there something you don't understand? With the knowledge base of his previous life, except for the first half year when he traveled through time, after slowly flipping through the books in his home and the textbooks of Uchiha Mika's previous ninja school, his understanding of the supernatural power of chakra has surpassed that of ordinary ninjas. It's about physical activation. Sister Mika, as a special medical jonin, I believe she can give me good advice in this regard. Physical activation? But at Toshiro's current age, it's too early to consider these things. I'm just doing some detailed understanding in advance. Prepare for the real activation of the body in the future. Uchiha Mika was not surprised to hear this. This child has always been so thoughtful and planned before taking action. Is that so? Then what questions can Toshiro tell his sister? She slowly sat on the sofa, hugged Uchiha Toshiro in her arms, and rubbed him intimately. Smelling the refreshing body fragrance, Uchiha Toshiro felt helpless. Although it was very enjoyable, where was his dignity as a man? He didn't have any unreasonable thoughts. As the youngest sister in the family, Uchiha Mika originally lived with Uchiha Toshiro's uncle after her parents died one after another. With the marriage of her brother, Uchiha Mika, who felt that she had become a light bulb in the family, moved to live with him. The two of them felt a bit dependent on each other. Uchiha Toshiro also slowly regarded her as his real relative. Unlike other time travelers, he didn't have to live alone. He was afraid that his secret would be discovered. With the experience of 2 lives, he knew too well the loneliness of living alone. Humans are social animals. Both men and women need the company of relatives, friends and lovers. In fact, Donshiro's daily refining and condensing of chakra is the simplest physical activation. With Uchiha Mika's explanation, Uchiha Dongshiro also had a deeper understanding of physical activation. The advanced application of chakra, the so-called physical activation, is to use the supernatural power of chakra to nourish and stimulate the body or body tissues to achieve a similar strengthening effect. The Inuzuka clan in the original work is a good representative. Its members will use chakra to nourish their own olfactory system, so that the clan members have super high olfactory ability. They can also use chakra to further stimulate the olfactory system when needed, so that the ability increases exponentially. However, chakra is not energy after all. Just like a person cannot grab his own hair and lift himself up, ninjas cannot use chakra composed of their own physical energy and spiritual energy on a large scale to nourish themselves on a large scale. They can only accumulate chakra little by little through the 2 most primitive methods of eating and sleeping to strengthen a certain part or system of the body. However, premature exposure to physical activation can easily lead to irreversible mistakes due to lack of experience and control. Excessive pressure on one's body in childhood will cause irreversible consequences for future growth and development, and will have a huge impact on adulthood. Therefore, all major ninja clans will not teach it to their children too early. Generally, they will slowly start trying after the age of 10. This is the way for ordinary ninjas to become stronger. After the age of 10, they accumulate chakra bit by bit, slowly nourish and stimulate their own bodies step by step so that their strength can grow synchronously. The corresponding jinchuriki is a special existence. They will use the chakra leaked by the tailed beast sealed in their bodies as nutrients, naturally activate their bodies, and comprehensively improve their comprehensive abilities. The same is true for refining chakra and letting it naturally dissipate in various parts of the body, but the amount of dissipated chakra is too small. A kind of energy that uses the chakra refined by itself as energy, and carefully controls it step by step. One uses the chakra leaked from the tailed beast in the body as energy, and allows it to dissipate naturally throughout the body. These are the 2 main ways to activate the body. One is slow, delicate but highly targeted. The other is rough, uninhibited but comprehensive. Thinking back to the original work, it seems to be so. The special powers used by the jinchuriki of each village, for example, lava escape, boiling escape, and sand escape, are all derived from the chakra leaked from the tailed beast to activate the jinchuriki body. So, Tawashiru, don't be too anxious, wait until a few years later, when the body is a little bigger, then slowly start this long-term ninja training. Chapter 21 Entrance Examination. On the 2nd morning, a gorgeous sunrise appeared in the east. Wisps of smoke floated from the roofs of the village, and the air was filled with a veil-like mist. Stepping on the morning mist, Uchiha Tawashiru slowly entered the yard. In the corner of the yard, on the big stone ball built 2 years ago for practicing meditation, a beautiful girl was sitting cross-legged. It was Uchiha Mika. Although 2 years of meditation practice did not allow him to sense natural energy now, the benefits it brought were obvious. It made him calm, stable and more energetic. The most obvious manifestation was that his ability to control his own spiritual energy, physical energy and chakra had made great progress. Half a year ago, after building a new training ground, Uchiha Tawashiru strongly recommended it, and Uchiha Mika also practiced this. It was really unbearable to resist Uchiha Tawashiru's soft and hard persuasion. After trying for 3 months, I feel that my fine control of chakra and the performance of medical ninjutsu have made obvious progress. Every day, she would spontaneously carry out this kind of practice that seemed quite strange to her. After all, which girl wouldn't like this kind of practice where she could sit cross-legged and meditate without sweating and getting stinky all over? Well, the law of true fragrance applies everywhere. Uchiha Tawashiru was not worried about what would happen. Without the toad oil of Miyabaku Mountain and its unique environment, it would be almost impossible to simply sense the natural energy and lose control, turning herself into a stone statue. As for the fact that Uchiha Miko was a genius who practiced immortal arts, it was still impossible for her to easily sense the natural energy. Unloading his own burden, Uchiha Toshiro came outside. He jumped onto the roof of the house on the right. A large skylight was newly opened on the roof. After opening the skylight, a 3 or 4 meter long hard-pointed wood as thick as an arm came into view. The pointed wood was fixed in the indoor dojo, and the top reached the roof. Due to the material, it was slightly elastic. This is where Uchiha Toshiro practices meditation every morning. He doesn't believe that without Zhang the butcher, he must eat hairy pigs. Without the inheritance of the 3 holy places, he will definitely not be able to practice to the immortal mode. If 1 year doesn't work, then 3 years. If 3 years don't work, then 5, 10, or 20 years. One day, he will thoroughly study the method of practicing immortal arts. After the meditation, after breakfast, at the gate of the Uchiha residence, Toshiro, don't you really want your sister to accompany you to the ninja school? Really? No need, Sister Mika. You should go and work on your new medicine. Things like entrance exams can be done in minutes. Uchiha Toshiro waved his hand while speaking. He went to the ninja school with his friends who were slowly gathering at the gate of the clan. The ninja school is located in the central area of Konoha, surrounded by some official institutions and departments of Konoha. 500 meters to the north is the residential area and the market, and a few hundred meters to the east is the Hokage's office and the famous Hokage Rock. Walking into the red gate, the wide square was crowded with people. It was the beginning of the school year, and many parents were holding their children to give instructions. The whole square was bustling with people. A huge banner was hung on the teaching building. The entrance ceremony. Uchiha Toshiro, who had been studying for 16 years, was no stranger to this kind of situation. Toshiro was familiar with this situation. Looking at the various signs in the school, he took a few orphans from the clan and took advantage of their height to quickly pass through the crowd of adults and find the administrative office of the school to handle the information of new students. After queuing in a long line, facing the 2 green vest chunins who were handling the admission procedures, they reported their names and received a physical examination form each. Under the other party's surprised eyes, he led these little ghosts to the school's infirmary. It's not that easy to become a ninja. Physical, mental, reaction, will and other aspects are indispensable. Besides, it's not a war period now, and there is no need for the ninja school to train so many cannon fodder. Leading this group of little ghosts from the clan, he ignored the strange looks cast on him along the way. After finding the medical staff who came to help today, the next thing was quite simple. They lined up to test their vision, hearing, smell, chakra sensitivity and other items. Then they handed in the forms and returned to the school square, waiting quietly. Time passed, and about an hour later, a young ninja with a list came to the square. The people whose names I read next, go to the school playground to gather for a physical fitness test. In the playground, a black-faced ninja with several scars on his face, wearing a green vest, and a hideous face was waiting for them. Kids, I am the examiner of this physical fitness test. Now start from here and start running around the playground for 60 laps. It's so far, how can we run it? Too many laps. With the size of this playground, 60 laps means at least dozens of kilometers. All of a sudden, various complaints emerged from the crowd. What are you waiting for? The first priority of a ninja is to obey orders and complete tasks. Now, immediately, run. A group of children were running slowly in the playground. This was the main content of the entrance examination, which tested physical strength and perseverance. Here, we can clearly see the difference between the descendants of ninjas and ordinary people. A large group of children were gradually divided into 2 groups, and the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. Toshiro was naturally one of the fast runners. He had done physical exercises early on. In terms of his current physical fitness, Toshiro was better than most children from ninja families. It didn't take long for Toshiro to reach the leading position, and compared with the children who were desperately chasing behind him, Toshiro undoubtedly seemed to be at ease. Running was his most basic training, and for ninjas, running wildly to catch up was also the norm. So don't think that running is ordinary and can only exercise endurance, but in fact, Endurance is also one of the necessary conditions to become a ninja. In this regard, Dong Shilang is more than a step higher than others. This performance obviously caught the examiner's eye. The examiner stared at him and nodded. At the end of the test, Dong Shilang was always far ahead, standing out among all the people. As for hiding his shortcomings, Dong Shilang felt that it was completely unnecessary. The relationship between the family and the village is not as bad as it was after the Nine-Tailed Fox Rebellion, when the last candidate ran across the finish line. This test was officially over. All the children who gave up halfway were eliminated, and as long as they successfully reached the finish line, even the slowest one passed the test. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 School. Today is the opening day of the ninja school. The ninja school was first created by the second generation of Hokage and is an official institution imitated by the entire ninja world. It aims to provide civilians with a way to become ninjas. It not only recruits civilian children without family inheritance, but also major ninja clans send their children to the ninja school for training. There is no rush to practice the family secrets, and it is enough to use the school holidays. Some basic knowledge can be taught by the village, which saves time and effort. In this way, the village and the family can rest assured. After all, not everyone thinks about rebellion every day. Since the ninja school is under the direct jurisdiction of the Hokage, the textbooks used are carefully selected and compiled, and even the teachers are directly appointed by the Hokage. With such a multi-pronged approach and careful training, brainwashing, whether it is a civilian ninja or a family ninja, most of them advocate the will of fire and are willing to contribute their own strength to protect the village, everyone, and the Hokage. This is also an indirect means for the Hokage to influence the ninja family. It's just that although the idea is good, most of the family ninjas are due to their origins, the favorable environment they live in, the secret techniques they learn, and the various conveniences provided by the family. Although they have a strong sense of identity with the village, they still put the family first in the general direction. After all, it is human nature to distinguish between the distant, the near, the close, and the distant. Except for a few people who think about problems from the perspective of Hokage. Thinking of this, I can't help but think of the future filial son of the family. His combat IQ is really off the charts, and his emotional intelligence in dealing with people is almost zero. How could he be fooled by the Hokage and Danzo, one playing the good cop and the other playing the bad cop, and become a knife in their hands? In his opinion, Uchiha was fooled by the Hokage and Danzo together. A good boy who keeps talking about the way of thinking of the Hokage is a good boy who has inherited the will of fire. One coerces and induces. When it's our turn to take action, we can't even save your precious brother. Uchiha was the eldest son of Uchiha Fugaku, and the eldest son stood on the side of the Hokage. The fight between the two pairs of Meixiang made Fugaku unable to care about anything else. The fate of the family was predetermined when he chose to become the sharpest blade in the hands of the Hokage. Otherwise, how could the two pairs of Meixiang work together to develop to that point? And Uchiha Shizui was too naive and told his trump card to the top leaders of Konoha. He was almost taken away by a surprise attack, which greatly damaged the reputation of Instant Body Shizui. The family education of Uchiha is really worrying. After complaining about the family's education method, Uchiha Toshiro threw these chaotic thoughts behind his mind. He did not mention Ufudao, who had a long speech by the third Hokage. Because of his excellent performance in the entrance examination, Uchiha Toshiro was assigned to the first grade, 1, class. There are nearly 10 classes in the first grade of the entire ninja school, with about 30 students in each class. The entire ninja school, including teachers and school staff, has nearly 2,000 people. Every year, there are more than 300 ninjas graduating. Considering that there are more than 10,000 ninjas working in Konoha, this number is relatively reasonable. After entering the teaching building and turning right, Uchiha Toshiro easily found his class. After confirming that it was correct, he stepped into the classroom. Toshiro came not too early, and there were already more than 10 people in the class. Sitting in the most conspicuous position in the middle was a little boy with a puppy on his head, wearing a blue t-shirt, and 2 fang-shaped red oil paints on his face. It was estimated that he was from the Inuzuka clan. In the front row, a girl with black hair and delicate face sat. From the completely white pupils, it can be distinguished that she is from the Hyuga clan. Unfortunately, there is a circle of white bandages covering her head. Needless to say, it must be a bird in a cage. He glanced over and didn't care about the other future classmates who were either civilians or children of the family. He nodded faintly, as a greeting to the students who looked over curiously. He walked straight to the window seat in the last row of the classroom. This seat is really reserved for poor students, and it is a must for time travelers. Not long after, as ninja students arrived one after another, more and more people came to the classroom. The noisy voices in the classroom gradually began to grow louder. Although most of them did not know each other yet, some social masters with strong desire to show off still successfully found new friends. He scanned the class again, and he was the only Uchiha child. This was also a special arrangement of the ninja school. Generally, there will be only one child born in the same family in a class. The purpose is to dilute the concept of family. Of course, nothing is absolute. As far as he knows, 2 of the 11 children who enrolled in the family this year are in the same class. Although the second generation established a security force, it successfully restricted the Uchiha family. But from another perspective, the family's population growth in recent years is also due to this aspect. The reason why there are 11 people, instead of 13 people in the first ninja training in the family, is because 2 people gave up becoming ninjas in the middle of the past 2 years. Not every child has the persistence and perseverance to work hard and sweat to become a ninja. Finally, as a young man holding a notebook walked into the classroom, all the noise quickly melted away like spring snow in the sun. Wake up, students who are distracted in the back. We are about to start class. He clapped his hands to attract the attention of these children, and reminded some of the inattentive and distracted Uchiha Toshiro in the classroom. Toshiro looked back at the new teacher, who looked quite distinctive. He wore a green chunin vest, black trousers and ninja sandals, and a ninja forehead protector tied around his waist. His facial features were also regular, which was unremarkable. The key was his shiny bald head, which was too dazzling. Uchiha Toshiro couldn't help but think of an anime he had seen in his previous life, One Punch Man and the male protagonist Saitama. You look a bit like Mr. Saitama when he's serious. My name is Aoyama Ryosuke. From today until you graduate from the ninja school, I will be your teacher. He wrote his name on the blackboard with chalk as he spoke. Hearing the teacher's name, Toshiro heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, that terrible thing didn't happen. If the teacher's name was Saitama, he wouldn't know how to complain. His name was Toshiro, and he felt like he had walked into the wrong set. Wouldn't it be a bummer if another Saitama came? What if another Luffy, Bulma, or someone else came? Wouldn't he be devastated? As he spoke, the young man turned around and bowed to everyone. Not a bad attitude. It seems that the Hokage has a way of selecting people. Chapter 23 Self-Introduction. My name is Ryosuke Aoyama. I like some literary works such as poetry collections. I hate unhealthy food. My dream is to contribute my own strength to the village. As soon as Mr. Aoyama came up, he gave a detailed self-introduction. Today is the first day of class. I won't teach specific content. Let's get to know each other first. You can call each other by name. Everyone, follow the template I just mentioned and introduce yourself. Is there anyone willing to go first? He really has a positive outlook. Familiar recipe, familiar taste. I'll go first. My name is Inuzuka Jiro. I like Huangwan and hate people who eat dog meat. My future dream is to become a Hokage. As soon as Mr. Aoyama finished speaking, the little boy in a blue t-shirt sitting in the middle of the classroom took the opportunity to speak before most of the students reacted. Huangwan, it should be the name of the brown and yellow puppy on his head. Following him, 4 or 5 other boys with a strong desire to perform stood up, looking impatient, afraid that someone else would speak first and steal their limelight. Although the situation was a bit chaotic, It was not a dull moment. Teacher Aoyama breathed a sigh of relief. Don't rush, come one by one. Let's start with the girl on the left in the first row. My name is Harada Sawa. I like kittens, hate spicy food, and my dream is to become an outstanding female ninja. Unexpectedly, the second speaker was a cat person, in sharp contrast to Inuzuka Jiro. My name is Kobayashi Kyo. I like hate ... My dream is, my name is Saratobi Ninja. I come from the Saratobi clan. I like barbecue and sweet potatoes. I don't hate anything, and my dream is to become the next Hokage. A small and arrogant boy stood up and spoke. The arrogance on his body was so great that even Tawashiro, who was born in the Uchiha clan, felt a little inferior, which attracted the attention of many classmates in the class. As the longest-serving Hokage in Konoha's history, the Sandaime has brought great influence and changes to his family. Just like the Saratobi ninja, he considers himself a powerful family of Konoha and is proud of his family. Some look down on other civilians and family members in their village. Even the Uchiha, Hyuga, Aburame and other families were not in their eyes. They were only slightly more favorable to their allies in the Ino, Deer and Chu families. This was not surprising. After all, there were all kinds of birds in the forest. As time passed, one boy after another stood on the podium. They introduced their likes, dislikes and dreams. Teacher Aoyama recorded them one by one in his notebook. As they introduced, Tawashiro also learned that his class was equivalent to the key class in his previous life. There were children from Saratobi, Shimura, Ino, Deer, Chu and other large and small families in the class, as well as some ordinary children whose surnames he had never heard of. At the same time, he also found that among the boys in the class, there were 7 or 8 who had the dream of becoming Hokage. Among them were family members and ordinary children. There were almost no girls. Most of them hoped to become a powerful female ninja or medical ninja. Not long after, it was his turn to introduce himself. My name is Uchiha Tawashiro. I like to soak in hot springs and read quietly. I hate troubles. My dream is to become a powerful ninja, and then travel around the ninja world, taste all kinds of food and wine from all over the world, and make friends with all kinds of beautiful young ladies. Standing on the podium, Uchiha Tawashiro spoke confidently. When he finished speaking, Aoyama Ryosu couldn't help but twitching his eyebrows. The previous ones were all normal. It's okay to taste all kinds of food in the back, but you are still a 6-year-old kid, and you want to drink and make friends with all kinds of beautiful young ladies? Although these 6-year-old children in the classroom are precocious, they are still children after all, and most of them are a little ignorant. What's wrong with this kid? Is he too mature? Great. This Uchiha guy has a good dream? Well, it's decided. I want to change my dream to be the same as this guy. Travel around the ninja world and taste all kinds of food and wine in the ninja world. Hearing Tawashiro's speech, the classroom and so on suddenly became lively, and all kinds of comments emerged one after another. Uchiha Tawashiro did not lie. These are his real dreams. Came to a brand new world, learn about the customs of various places, taste all the delicacies and wines in the world. These are his real thoughts. This world is full of natural energy. Whether it is those strange and huge monsters or the novel mountain delicacies specializing in the forest, they can always bring him a different taste experience. As for making friends with beautiful young ladies, he finally traveled through the two-dimensional world once, and I don't know how many lifetimes he has accumulated. Is it necessary to be a big boss behind the scenes for some so-called dreams and ambitions, or to save the world and create peace? What a mess. Isn't a beautiful two-dimensional young lady fragrant? If there were no safety hazards, he would not practice so hard to become a ninja. At most, out of curiosity, he would refine chakra, learn about various magical ninjutsu, sealing techniques, etc. How could he get up before dawn to exercise like now? He is also very tired. This classmate of the Uchiha clan has a unique and grand dream. Will this kid become a guy like Jiraiya in the future? In my mind, I imagine a guy wearing a traditional dark-colored high-collared coat of the Uchiha clan, with a red and white ping-pong-style family crest embroidered on the back, squatting by the hot spring pool and peeping. I feel that the style of painting is completely incompatible with the arrogant and cold appearance of the Uchiha clan. Yes, this one looks about 28 or 29 years old, a bit like the bald head of teacher Saitama. In fact, he is familiar with the future one of the three ninjas, the Toad Sage of Meibaku Mountain, the teacher of the fourth generation, and the lecherous sage Jiraiya mentioned by the son of prophecy Naruto. He knows the behavior of his classmate very well. This is the 38th year of Konoha, and Jiraiya, Tsunade and Orochimaru are only about 28 years old, which is the prime of their lives. Even the future Nagata, the fastest man in the ninja world, Golden Flash, he is only 14 years old and still a teenager. A butterfly in the Amazon rainforest in North America occasionally flaps its wings, which may cause a tornado in Texas 2 weeks later. I don't know if I, a time traveler, will cause a butterfly effect. What if there is no Sasuke or Naruto in the future? How will this anime continue? What if Madara and Kaguya jump out again at that time? Should I do it myself? For no reason. A lot of nonsensical thoughts popped up in Uchiha Toshiro's mind. Chapter 24 Daily Life. The morning light slowly opened the curtain, and it was another colorful morning, coming to the world with freshness. In the small woods next to the training ground in the Uchiha family's residence, a vigorous figure, like a cheetah in the forest, quickly flashed through the gap between the trees and disappeared. The rapid panting sound was like the bellows pulled by the furnace of an old-fashioned blacksmith shop. It was like a beast cub breathing. Although it was not yet formed, it already had the markings of a tiger or leopard. Passing through a lush bush, constantly twisting his body and avoiding the thorns in it, Uchiha Toshiro's figure flashed by. He was doing his morning exercise every morning, which was different from the jogging he started with 2 years ago. Now, he was running fast. His limbs and the small vest he was wearing were all carrying a lot of weight. The total weight of his whole body was more than 50 kilograms. For a teenager who was less than 120 centimeters tall and weighed only about 28 kilograms, it was a bit exaggerated. However, in the ninja world, with the magical power of chakra, nothing is surprising. He did not tie the weight to his body like Ali in the original work. He only wore it during morning exercises every morning to prevent adverse effects on his future physical development. His running exercise method is also different from that of ordinary people. Ordinary people usually choose a flat ground to run circles to increase the length to exercise endurance. But he entered a forest and ran rapidly without using chakra. He kept making various evasive moves along the way, avoiding various obstacles such as branches and thorns extending from the bushes between the trees. In the dim morning light, running at a high speed, such exercise is a severe challenge to his own reaction ability, control ability, balance ability, and joints such as ankles. In addition, the 50-kilogram weight is a big test of his own physical fitness, endurance, and explosive power. If he is not careful, he will be injured or even seriously injured. 53 minutes and 49 seconds. This week's average score is 2 minutes better than last week. He took out his pocket watch and checked the time. This is a calculation method he designed for himself. Whenever the average weekly score of the route he designed reaches 50 minutes, he will add 5 kilograms of weight to himself to enhance the effect of exercise. Yeah, keep working hard, Illich. After encouraging himself, Uchiha Toshiro walked into the house exhausted and with trembling legs. "I'm back," he shouted almost weakly, and felt a lot more relaxed after taking off the weight on his body. "Breakfast will be ready soon. Sit down and rest for a while and drink a glass of water." In the kitchen, Uchiha Mika's voice came as usual, but 5 minutes later, Toshiro was feasting on the table. In the past 2 years, his appetite has increased a lot, comparable to that of Uchiha Mika, who is an adult. In order to increase his own physical energy, he did not miss any relatively simple and effective ways to increase physical energy, such as strengthening exercise, increasing nutritional intake, eating small meals frequently, etc. As a medical ninja, Uchiha Mika has not specialized in the field of nutrition, but every time she prepares breakfast, bento, or lunch and dinner for him, they are all nutritious and delicious. It provides a solid foundation for him to become a strong man in the future. After breakfast, as usual, There is an hour of meditation practice, and then he and Uchiha Mika walk out of the gate of the station together. One goes to the ninja school, and the other goes to the security force. And in Dong Shilang's home, there is another Dong Shilang who is practicing swordsmanship hard in the dojo. That's right, it was his shadow clone who went out to the ninja school with Uchiha Mika. Since Uchiha Dong Shilang completed the tree climbing and water treading training a year ago, he began to practice ninjutsu. He didn't greedy, and only selected the 4 most basic techniques in those scrolls: Fire Style Great Fireball Technique, Fire Style Phoenix Flower Fire Technique, Shadow Clone Technique, and an Illusion Magic Naraku View Technique. The training of Fire Style and Illusion was very smooth, and he completed the training of these 3 techniques in just 2 weeks. He just encountered trouble when practicing Shadow Clone, but it was not that he could not perform it successfully. After he performed it, the Shadow Clone that was transformed did not last up to his standard, only 20 to 30 minutes. This was reasonable because of his 2 lives as a human and his meditation practice. His mental power was extremely excellent. Whether it was reading books or studying, or controlling his own chakra, learning illusions, etc., he could get twice the result with half the effort. However, his 6-year-old age limited the development of his physical energy. Insufficient chakra has always been a major dilemma he has faced over the years. Even now that he can use a shadow clone to go to school instead of himself, there are still many restrictions. When he can stay still in class, try not to move. Usually, he just borrows a few books from the library to read, and passively becomes a quiet handsome man. Once there is an outdoor class, the main body has to go in person. Fortunately, the outdoor classes in the ninja school are generally scheduled in the afternoon, and the morning is some theoretical knowledge learning, so his current training plan has changed a lot. He gets up before dawn every morning, he runs with a weight, then sits in meditation for breakfast, and then creates a shadow clone to go to school. He then practices physical skills and swordsmanship, and takes a break for an hour. He eats something to replenish his body's energy, and eats lunch and takes a nap immediately after the shadow clone is released at noon. In the afternoon, the main body goes to school in person to attend classes and deal with outdoor activities in school, which is also a disguised dressed. Of course, he also did not forget to create a shadow clone to practice the nature change of chakra at home. However, this clone will not last until he finishes school, and it will automatically be released after 1 or 2 hours. In his opinion, the shadow clone technique is quite unusual. It is completely different from the ninjutsu formed by the nature change of fire, wind, earth, thunder, water, etc. It can form an identical self to practice, scout, and fight on your behalf. In the end, it can also transmit the relevant experience and memory back to your body, which is extraordinary. He suspects that this ninjutsu should be a technique derived from yin-yang escape. At the same time, this is also a way and method for the body to exercise its own spiritual energy. By using the shadow clones, he constantly brings himself new knowledge, experience and fatigue. His spiritual energy is constantly consumed and restored to achieve the purpose of growth. I remember that in the original work, Naruto began to take off slowly after obtaining this ninjutsu. Chapter 25 Shadow Clone. At this time, in the dojo of Uchiha Dong Shilang's home, a figure was holding a sword in both hands and waving it at a dummy. As time passed, the sound of the iron sword in his hand hitting the wooden puppet became one, like a storm. He didn't know any sword skills, such as sword drawing and EAI. Although he had heard of them, he didn't have any specific methods to practice. He didn't care, but just practiced the basic sword skills taught by the clan repeatedly, and every move was fast, accurate, and ruthless. Suddenly, there was a sound of breaking through the air, and a wooden ball the size of an egg shot towards Dong Shilang's back. At this time, he chopped it down with his sword. The old strength was gone, and the new strength had not yet been born. Dong Shilang seemed to have sensed it long ago, and he didn't panic. The arm holding the knife moved slightly and gently pulled it back. With a sound of clang, the ball and the handle of the knife collided violently. Having easily dealt with the attack, he didn't care and continued to swing the long sword in his hand towards the dummy. After a while, another sound of breaking through the air came from the side and front, and the timing was just right this time. Just when he was about to stab the dummy in front of him with a sword, it was difficult to change his moves in the middle. He twisted his waist and lowered his head, giving up the attack. Once again, he successfully dodged the ball that attacked this time. This was a new training method he arranged for himself. I don't remember which report I saw in my previous life that a coach of a world champion in swimming would constantly cause him various accidents when training him, or his glasses would suddenly leak water, or his swimming suit would suddenly break, etc., one after another, to train his ability to deal with unexpected situations during the competition. Inspired by this, he would arrange a shadow clone every time he trained in physical skills or swordsmanship. Holding a crossbow specially ordered from Uchiha Tepe, silently, he fired a wooden ball at himself. Sometimes he would even do some tricks on the iron sword or the dummy he used. This is to train himself and to have the experience of dealing with unexpected attacks in battle. Even his morning running exercise would plan the route from different angles in the woods. This allowed him to constantly adapt and achieve more significant training effects by running and jumping at high speed in a new environment. In his opinion, this was very necessary. Ninja battles are always unexpected, full of suddenness and uncertainty. Its high attack, high sensitivity, and low defense characteristics prompt ninjas to deceive their opponents and launch sudden attacks, in order to achieve the effect of killing with one blow. I don't know if it is because of the hard training in recent years that has stimulated the hidden attributes of the body, or it is because of the uninterrupted meditation every morning that makes him closer to nature. When he first started this training, he would often be hit by the ball. Even if he deliberately chose a place with a lot of meat, it would still make him suffer. Slowly, Uchiha Toshiro felt that he seemed to have a certain perception ability. Every time the wooden ball attacked him, it seemed to be anticipated in advance, as if he had a telepathic connection. Even when running in the morning, sometimes there is something incongruous in the woods, but the range is still very low, and it can only be felt about 3 or 5 meters in front of him. As for why he chose a wooden ball instead of a sharp object like a kunai, he is not a masochist. Even if a wooden kunai is fired from a crossbow, it will still cause injury and bleeding. After nearly an hour of sword training, Uchiha Toshiro drank a big mouthful of salt water to replenish the nutrients in his body. At the same time, he couldn't help but secretly complain that the shadow clone was really a dog. Ju played tricks on the dummy and almost slapped him down with a slap just now. Is he trying to give him a big slap? I am the real body, okay? How can you show off and consider the feelings of the real body? Fortunately, the training of shuriken throwing has been cancelled recently, otherwise it would be a bit too much. He thinks that shuriken is only useful when you are Genin and Chunin. When you reach Jonin, and the subsequent cage level, or even super cage, it is basically useless. As for the famous Uchiha shuriken manipulation technique, that is the method used by Ichi in the original work to make kunai or shuriken collide in the air and change the trajectory to attack the enemy. It is better to wait until the Sharingan is open before trying it. Speaking of Sharingan, he wanted to complain again. Didn't others open their eyes immediately after crossing over? It is common to open eyes at the age of 2 or 3, and it is a basic operation to open eyes at the age of 4 or 5. He has nothing. It's really enough. He is afraid that he has traveled through a fake one. Oh, is it because chakra has not been refined at that time? Lying in the living room, on a specially customized rocking chair. While rocking, he emptied his mind. Here it comes. Suddenly, a stream of information poured into his mind. At the same time, there was also a faint sense of fatigue. Glancing at the clock in the living room, the hands pointed to 11:50. Just 10 minutes ago, the ninja school ended the morning class. And the shadow clone also found a secluded place and released itself. At this moment, the information stream he was receiving was exactly what the shadow clone had learned in school throughout the morning. Of course, it was not the knowledge learned in class, but a book he brought with him that detailed medical ninjutsu and training methods. After learning the shadow clone technique and conducting several experiments, he had a general understanding of the compatibility between himself and this ninjutsu. Thanks to the time traveler in the Uchiha surname, his spiritual energy was outstanding both in the clan and among teenagers of the same age. It was almost 2 to 3 times theirs. Even his physical energy was much stronger than that of his peers, but it was limited after all. It was very different from the physical freaks like Senju and Uzumaki. If the shadow clone was used for too long and the amount of activity was too much, the accumulated fatigue would make his body feel overwhelmed. Compared with the body, the mental aspect was much easier. The knowledge that the shadow clone had learned in the morning poured into his mind. Although he would feel a certain amount of fatigue, a short nap would basically solve it. In view of this, the way to use his shadow clone became clear, like learning new knowledge, training the nature of chakra, going to the ninja school to take cultural classes and assist him in training. These activities that are not large and will not cause strong physical fatigue are left to the shadow clones to complete. As for himself, he strengthens the strength of physical training. After all, not everyone is like Uzumaki Naruto. Since childhood, he has accepted the positive chakra leaked by the Nine Tails to transform his body. At only 12 or 13 years old, he can easily split 2,000 or 3,000 shadow clones. It's really a monster to think about it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.